Alrighty, we are now officially live. Welcome, everybody. We are Multiclass Act, and my name is Dan. And today we're going to do episode 3 of our Starfinder experience.
Immediately froze.
Did we immediately freeze? So fantastic.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
That is what you call.
What's interesting is we're not frozen on my screen yet.
It'll happen.
Oh, we
we're
will
not,
be.
though. I don't think
There
so.
we go.
You are mine.
As is tradition.
There we go.
There we go.
Get it out of the way fast.
It's true. That's why we go live way early. That way it breaks midway through. So we're going to play Starfinder today, episode 3, picking up where these wonderful losers left off. I don't think we have too many announcements, if any, to really speak about, other than there is a 5e project in the works, which only some people in this room know about, having just heard about it for the first time. So we'll see when that happens, if it happens, assuming everything keeps on progressing. Does anybody here at the table have any questions before we hop into tonight's recap?
Not at the moment.
No? Fantastic. Then I will jump over here to our recap. So where we last left this wonderful crew, you had successfully managed to get off of the planet of Cerebos, a jungle planet infested by Formians, both feral and sort of cultivated or civilized. The planet was seemingly cracked into pieces by an enormous construct, spherical-like segmented tentacled monstrosity, which flew up into orbit as fast as any spaceship could, and completely, or nearly completely, destroyed the Myoposis, the ship which many of you had called home for quite some time, and many others had called home for a very long time. You did receive a distress message of sorts that was coded in behind a sort of encrypted wall, which let you know that there is, or was, lingering somewheres inside the ruins of the Myoposis, a message that needs to reach the Starfinder Society in Absalon Station. Upon going up into the sort of ruins of the Myoposis, you found, well, unfortunately, not a single living soul, save for Tash, the diminutive Bantrid, who you brought with you in your stolen spaceship, but we'll get to that in a second, who, after a little bit of hijinks, locking him in the brig and then letting him out of the brig, and then not letting him plummet to the surface all by himself, eventually you decided to turn over the keys to the Vangst, his ship, or his former ship, so he can go back down to the surface and maybe get his crew, and see if that bites you in the ass in the far, far distant future. Because you guys have a better ship, a bigger ship, the Gant, which you have successfully managed to commandeer, not that it took too much skill or effort to do so, as it was nestled deep within inside the Myoposis and was largely untouched by the destruction of the ship. Where we're going to pick up today is almost exactly where we left off, almost to the time, as the Vangst is getting ready to probably head back down to the surface, assuming Tash can find his foot and get it under him to move about. And you all have the Gant at your disposal, preparing to take your actual first look into it. You guys, sort of behind the scenes, have given you guys a map, but we're actually going to explore the ship a little bit today and sort of familiarize yourself with what might be your new home for at least the foreseeable future until you decide to trade it or steal another one, because that is the way this game works. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment? No.
I call top bunk.
Well, we'll get there when we need to. So today we're going to start inside, or in the wreckage of the Myoposis. Right now you're all in the vacuum of space, having successfully disembarked from the Vangst and preparing to make the very short jump over to the Gant, having successfully parked both ships together. You're still surrounded by the ruins of the Myoposis, and you can see ever present this sort of drifting debris moving its way towards that center of this large orrery construction, which was seemingly pulling all these little thought infospheres towards it and catching up corpses and debris and metal in the process. It is eerily silent, as space is, and you can really only hear yourselves breathing inside your own helmets, that weird, sort of echoey, muted sound. You can key into your comms to speak to one another whenever you like, but right now you're standing overlooking the rather vast ship, the Gant. By comparison to the moat, which you guys were all crammed into just a day prior, this ship could fit the moat in it 3 or 4 times over. And having not quite explored the ship, but Nivel, you touched down first and opened it up. The airlock that you found attaches to the shuttle bay, which you could easily see could fit the moat, and then some.
Mm.
So I'm going to pass off to you guys and sort of ask what you guys want to do right now, still standing on the Vangst, ready to head over. If you have any questions or anything you want to do, including leaving the Gant alone and ruining all my work. It's entirely up to you guys.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. We go left.
I don't like the color. Let's find a different one.
We don't need that much space. I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
there's a
Three
lot of
freeze
space.
again? Oh my goodness.
We did.
That is not tradition.
That breaks
Sometimes
tradition.
it happens.
Once. Only once is allowed.
So Nival, you're over there.
I believe yes.
All right.
Yes, Nival is...
And I think you're with me.
no, she came onto
No,
the.
you came to
I
unlock
came
it?
back to.
She came with you, and then she came to the bridge with CV2 and I, and then we had just left the bridge to come back
Mhm.
over.
Yeah, if
essentially.
picture it right
Oh.
now, you have Nival standing in the vacuum of space on one side. There's about a
Yeah.
20-foot gap, and then the rest of you are standing on the other airlock, ready to sort of just drift across.
Yeah, because I remember I was locked out, so I was just
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went back to unleash Tash and make sure that he was okay,
Yeah.
and make a decision to.
I was still back at the cell with him.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we both left together to go up to the.
Yeah.
He gave him an extra dose.
Yeah, you gave him an extra
Yeah.
dose
Yeah.
before you
One,
left.
one for the road.
Yeah.
I'm gonna key over to Nival. How is it looking over there?
It's still looking locked.
Well, got plenty of ordnance. We need to blast something open.
No,
I can
No, no,
try.
I opened it for you.
Maku had opened it before
Never-
she came over to us.
Never mind, it is open.
okay.
So far,
Taking it on faith.
it's looking empty, but huge.
Right.
So I'd be in the cargo area first, right?
No, so if you hop on the ship, if you refer to the map that you guys have,
Yep.
I didn't put in an airlock in the shuttle bay, but that's actually where you are, because it's not an airlock as much
Gotcha.
as it is a big giant
Yep.
door that opens to space, and that's currently what you're standing in front of, which is open. A small sort of person-sized access hatch has been open. Looking inside, you can see that it is absolutely desolate and quiet. There is right now sort of particulate matter hanging in the open space as sort of the vacuum sucked out what little air might have been in there. It is almost creepy at this point how quiet it is. Looking inside, you can see that upon the door opening, a series of small emergency lights did turn on sort of up in the upper corners of this relatively large shuttle bay, casting very dim light over the space, which right now has not a thing in it. You can see that there is space, as I said, for a couple of decent-sized ships, including the Moat or several smaller ones. But right now, from your point of view inside this little access hatch, having not really ventured in, you can't see much, save for a small set of almost like zap straps that are holding something down slightly out of sight, slightly out of corner, where if you peek your head in, you'll be able to see no problem. You are all still on the other side of the ship, so pass it off to Nival.
Yep. I think she'll start walking in sword over shoulder, peeking around, and very quickly respond to Thurgood of a, if we want to take the moat, although I'm not sure why, it looks like we'd have room. And then kind of eyes on that strappy thing, walk towards it.
This camera's giving us trouble. I'm just going to keep that open so I can refresh it all the time.
All right then. I mean, doesn't seem like there's any imminent threat. I'm gonna hop over,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Certainly.
close the gap. And
So when you go stepping into the actual hangar bay itself, or the shuttle bay itself, immediately looking left, you can see what is sort of zap strapped down. It is essentially like a space forklift of sorts, which could be used, and you can tell right away, both on the surface of any sort of gravity-laden body, or in 0G as well. It has little thrusters on it, so you could use it to shuttle things back and forth from one ship to another in space if you wanted.
Can robots smile?
Well, it's up to you, really.
Yeah. She's gonna go over, cut off the straps, and immediately hop on it and see if it still works.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
I know, I'm toying around with that.
You cook it, you sort of power it up, and away it goes.
I'm gonna go meet Thurgood at the front door.
Well, so as you sort of unstrap it, take the ratchet straps off, and it begins to sort of drift aimlessly in the 0G vacuum space. Thurgood sort of lands on the other side, squeezes your way through the door, and can see Nival sort of zipping around a little
Doing
bit.
donuts.
I was gonna say, another boring 9 to 5, am I right?
the last thing I expected to see over here. Good that there's a few things kicking around in here, not a completely empty shell.
Yeah. clearing some room to get the moat in there potentially.
Where's the
Certainly.
bridge
After
on
having
this
some
thing?
fun.
Where's the bridge on this thing? We're gonna need to take stock from the helm as soon as possible.
I assume somewhere this way.
Uh,
Just point to the door.
Mhm. You definitely get the impression that the ship not only has multiple decks, but is pretty widely
It's huge.
spread out. Yeah, it's a pretty massive ship. And
I don't think
Go
we
ahead.
need to worry about the moat, guys. That's still back on Sarajevo.
yeah, it's
The
100%.
bank's just the big ship that we've. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want it.
I can still clear it up.
Yeah.
No good memories back there. Yeah, everybody else hop on over. This spot at least seems fine. This shuttle. There's a forklift if you want to, I don't know, whip it. And yeah.
Thurgood, did you get the honey?
Yes. Retroactively, yes.
Sure.
Still
Yeah.
trying to get paid.
Well, there you go.
I'm gonna leave that here in this bay.
There's room.
Yeah, and
If there's space to secure.
not only is this a shuttle bay, but it does sort of double as a cargo bay in a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
There are a series of sort of like magnetic platforms on the floor that you can just click it in and press a little button and it shunk, locks it into place. The zap traps are just there for extra support in case the ship does a barrel roll in atmosphere or something. But sure enough, the honey is secure. You
Alright.
definitely also know that the bridge of the ship is probably immediately attached to the shuttle bay. From the outside in, you can see the sort of canopy window on the front, so you can sort of surmise where you need to go. With all 6 of you on board the Gant, inside the shuttle bay, where do you want to head? Is the bridge your sort of first spot?
That's where we're gonna get a general status, right? Start looking at some computers, cameras, if this thing even has them. I mean, this is an old piece of
I'm going to.
history.
Nival will probably do a sweep of the whole ship, as long as that would take, from like the back up.
I would like to explore too.
Okay, so we'll leave the 2 of you to head off one direction as the 4 of you head off into the bridge. And we'll start with the bridge first, okay? Immediately attached to the shuttle bay, there's a series of little airlocks, little bulkheads, which lead to the bridge proper, which is substantive in size. You could probably park them out here inside this room if you wanted to. The bridge itself has a large sweeping like vista of what appear to be windows, but pretty quickly you realize are actually like double-sided screens where there's probably cameras on the outside directly on the other side of the window, which is showing the outside world. It's a safety feature more than anything. Windows in space are a bad idea, all things considered. The bridge is primarily dominated by the captain's chair, which is sitting in the center, almost like on a raised dais, that has a sort of a ring, a circular console that wraps around it with a little hatch in it to get in and out, allowing the captain, whoever it may be when you decide, to have a fair amount of access to the ship's information. Probably can account for power cores and shields and sensors and, well, all sorts of stuff. In addition, on the bridge, there is a single pilot's chair immediately in front. So picture it like a tandem bike ride almost, but on a spaceship, where the pilot can sit and control the ship and easily take commands from whoever's in charge. In addition, in front of the pilot, there is a third and final chair which controls whatever is the primary weapon of the ship, whatever you decide it to be. Again, that camera is just bugging me. Okay. Unfrozen. There is the weapon that controls the largest weapon on the ship, and upon brief inspection, you know there is a single large cannon on the ship at the very least, with plenty of room for more. Finally, there is a large communal seating area behind the captain's dais that is very informal. It has a sort of round table and very comfortable, like bench cushion seats almost. That could easily fit the entire crew, and then some more if you just wanted to hang out and exist for a time while the ship is in transit or whatever the case may be. You can also tell that there is a small little elevator of sorts that is at the very, very front, just in front of the gunner's seat, that goes down a floor to somewheres beyond, although you're not exactly sure where that might be. As soon as you cross in through the threshold, all of the main lights in the bridge turn on, and a couple of the screens flicker to life. And more, perhaps confusingly or strikingly at first, in that sort of communal chair behind the captain, a little holographic image appears the second you enter the room. It's a bust from about here up of what really is a small, diminutive-looking halfling. in this hologram, who, as soon as you enter the bridge, it speaks to you, but not to any one of you four specifically. Greetings and welcome to the Gant. My name is Percival. How may I be of assistance?
Hey, Percy. Hi.
Hello.
How long you been asleep, pal?
Well, what is the current star date? You can see he thinks to himself as you're thinking to yourself. 300 years.
Yeah. We're just checking this spot out. You ready to go for a spin?
Absolutely. It has been some time since the Gant has moved at all.
It's true. Yeah. You know anything about the Myoposis? You were a part of the superstructure for a while.
I was merely an escape pod of sorts. Manifester Kurgit was in charge of the Myoposis, and he has not graced these halls in as many centuries as I've been dormant.
Was Kurgit a big slug?
No.
Okay,
That would have been a Zyro. Kurgit was a contemplative. You would
right.
all know what that is. They are essentially brains with atrophied bodies that are mostly native to one of the gas giants in the Pack Worlds. But that's what Manifester Kurgit was.
Right. Do you know what happened out there? Things are a little different. I'm just trying to make sure that you're up to speed on the goings on.
Allow me to check the shipboard sensors. He just pauses, looks up, thinks for a second. It would appear the Myoposis has been destroyed.
100%. It's pretty bad.
Well, your sensors are still working there, Percival.
Yeah.
They have been off for some time. It is good to stretch the legs, proverbially speaking.
Well, how's your drift drive looking?
It is currently functional.
Hell yeah.
That's good news.
Great news.
Should I set a course?
I think we're headed into the
Absalom
center.
Station.
Yeah.
We are heading to Absalom Station, but can we get like a diagnostic going? Make sure
Yeah,
everything's
yes.
in working order
Let's not get
beforehand.
ahead of ourselves.
I don't know if main power is even up.
The power core of the Gant is still operational, if not subdued slightly. A quick trip to engineering to flip some manual switches will allow us to operate at full capacity. However, life support, lights, minor shields, and some thrust is currently available.
That's good to know.
Hey, Maku,
Yeah.
you found engineering the power core yet? Gotta flip some switches down there.
Oh, yeah. I switched on my way.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Well, with that call, we'll cut to these two, both Nival and Maku, who have sort of gone through that main shuttle bay and entered what is clearly the crew quarters. Sort of just behind the shuttle bay. The crew quarters is a ringed sort of room with 6 nearly identical chambers, all of which are very sparsely furnished. Simple beds, simple mattresses, small lockers for a little bit of your personal effects. That ring a central elevator, which right now has a cover over top of it, as if a retractable table has spread over this central elevator column, doubling as a potential sort of communal gathering area. You can easily see the buttons you need to press to navigate deeper into the ship. I will say that even the captain's quarters is here among these 6 chambers, having absolutely zero pomp and circumstance. All 6 chambers are absolutely the same, ready to be claimed. None of them appear to have any personal effects currently in them, as if they were abandoned and cleaned a very long time ago. The two of you, standing in this crew quarters, can see beyond. There is access to the thrusters, and the power core itself is on this level, although the engineering is on a deck deeper down somewhere in the ship. What do you two want to do in the crew quarters right now?
Is the map to the ship, because you know how like in some like buildings in real world there's like kind of like a little map, like a "you are here." Is that existent, or is it just like we have no idea?
You have no idea.
Okay.
No.
Where do you want to go, friend?
Might as well go deeper, but letting the crew know. We found living quarters that seem sufficient.
There were no bow ties or scarves.
How big are they?
There were no bow ties or scarves.
Right.
Would they be big enough for Thurgood?
Yes. I mean, it would be cramped, but yes.
Serviceable. Thurgood.
All right.
You can have my bunk if you want to push it together.
Oh yeah.
I will share with you.
No, I think that's all right. Thank you, Nival. Really kind of you.
Yep, keep going deeper. Keep
Sure.
looking,
Sure.
because we only really have one way right now,
Yeah.
right?
So finding a little button to operate the lift, the central table in the middle of this communal area sort of unravels, kind of like an opening iris, just disappearing into this bar height sort of area, communal area, and a little lift comes rising up, sort of beckoning you, the two of you, to get on. As soon as you do, you realize there are 3 floors to the ship, and you were on the highest, the topmost, deck 1, as it were. And here it does kind of say what's on each deck. You can see deck 1, crew quarters, bridge, shuttle. Deck 2, weapons, sensors, galley, and engineering. And deck 3 at the bottom is where essentially just the cargo is, the largest and most open space, as well as the drift engine itself. So if you intend to go to engineering, you can go to the second deck, or you can explore all the way to the bottom if you wanted to. So pass it off to 2 of you.
I think engineering first.
Yes.
Yep, second one.
Certainly. So going down, you immediately find yourselves in the galley, and as the lift goes down, you can hear the sound of a similar sort of table opening, and you find yourselves essentially in a clone almost of the room above, a similar communal eating area. However, now you find yourselves in the galley, and in place of the 6 individual rooms, this chamber is ringed by machinery, which you all recognize as UBP printing food devices. Where, as Thurgood is shaking his head, unfortunately, you know that universal polymer gets sort of shunted through nozzles to make whatever you want it to taste like. This is common knowledge throughout most of the pack worlds and the vast that it's nutrition, not fun. And this ship does not have any glamorous any trappings of glamorous, luxurious spaceships with real food on them. But you find yourselves in the galley. Immediately heading to the rear of the ship, you'll find engineering. And stepping through this door, it is a, unfortunately, pretty horrendously lit, already sort of stale-smelling chamber, which has access to pretty much every engineering system you would need inside the ship, but only if you're willing to wing your elbows and shoulders off things. This is 4 or 5 different bays all crammed in one area, to say the least. I will say it has room for 2 people in it. If we ever get to Starship Combat that requires engineering, only 2 people can fit inside this engineering bay. It could be reconfigured later on to maybe fit more people. But right now, looking at it, it is just a wall of panels with cables and pipes and springs hanging out in all sorts of random places. You immediately feel at home.
I was going to say, does this look right to you?
Maku has fallen a little bit behind and is pushing the button on one of the food pressing machines to try to make it make like a weird shape. So I'm like pushing a whole bunch of buttons at once to try to confuse it to make like a new creation of.
Certainly, as you spin
Maku.
around.
And I'm like coming into the door like.
Well, as you spin around to ask for Maku, you can see as you're sort of holding your hands out, this little nozzle, which sort of is reconfiguring itself to be like a cookie cutter stamp almost, but like presses things through it. It's just this weird undulating, shape-changing rope of rather unappetizing looking gray goo.
Yeah. Do you know how old that is?
Would you like some?
Just like smooshes it again. Like, just look at it and shrug. I cannot eat.
Oh, that's really sad.
I don't ever feel sad about it. How about you eat it for me? But besides that, is this engineering? Because it looks like, well, that, but wire.
Oh, there's just engineering.
That looks right to you? Let's look at it.
Yeah.
Just kind of like shiver, like, oh. If that were me, I would be in very bad situation. Is this ship ruined?
No.
I don't like exposed wires.
I fixed it. It's fine.
Okay. We found engineering in what I believe may be food.
It tastes good.
Oh, that's
Maku
great.
says it tastes good, but
The ship's been abandoned for 300 years.
Maku, that's 300 years old.
That's older than me.
It's probably fine. It's just edible plastic. It's probably fine.
What kind of chow do they have down there?
It looks like mush.
It tastes like mush too.
Oh, is it like UPP stuff?
I do not know.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. If you push the button a lot of times, it makes this really cool little ropey thing.
Yeah, you don't want to eat that. I mean, you can. You don't want to know how they like make that though. And I'm not even talking about the goo. I'm talking about like the UBPs themselves. They
Can we
It's
not
messy.
spoil this? We might not have much option.
It's food. It's fine.
It'll keep
Medical
us
kid.
alive.
Yeah,
I
feel
I
fine.
grew up on it. It's fine.
Okay. Wow.
rough. It's industrial
okay, I'm
solvents.
just gonna clean off my hands and flick some buttons.
It's shelf stable for centuries.
It's been
Oy.
centuries.
We haven't found the upper limit yet. I don't know if there is an
Okay.
expiry date.
This might be the science experiment of a dissertation for someone.
Percival, the hologram, will chime in a little bit. The food in the galley is suitable for sort of biological consumption.
Sweet.
Still,
Okay.
Would we be able to hear that? Is it over like our comms or? Is
right now it's just
Okay.
in the bridge.
Oh yeah, we met a guy up here. His name's Percy. He's like I would know that's the onboard AI generally. We found a Percy. Seems pretty helpful. Says the ship's in pretty alright condition. Just got to flick a few levers down in engineering, and then I think we should be set to heat up the drift drive. Percy, how long would it take through the drift to get us to Absalom?
Depending on exactly where we are in the vast, anywhere from 1 to several days.
Figures. We're out by Cerebos. I don't know if that helps.
I cannot tell until the drift drive is actionable and ready to go.
Gotcha.
Above table, I'll let you know that Absalon Station does have this thing called the Starstone, which we sort of briefly alluded to in the previous session, that anywheres in the universe, essentially, if you have coordinates at least, you can make your way back there in a reasonable amount of time. Sort of distance doesn't seem to apply so much. If you were to, for example, go from Absalon Station to here, it might take you several weeks, whereas it will only take you a couple of days to go from here back to Absalon Station. And to mention about Percy, you knowing what that is, yes, Percival or Percy is a sort of widespread, basically Siri-like entity that exists in the Pack Worlds, primarily in the Pack Worlds. Okay? So you have found a Percy. That is correct. Maku, you could please give me an engineering check if you would like to start the process of maybe firing up the Gant and getting it into working order.
First roll of my
First
new Maku
roll.
dice.
New Maku dice.
19.
19. So very easily you find what levers you need to push. The ship is actually in decent working condition. There's no actual maintenance that needs to be done, aside from just taking it off of standby mode, essentially, where it's been for the last couple hundred years. And as soon as you do, it begins to groan to life as the power core, which you learn is situated above you on the first deck, begins to sort of groan to life. The whole ship does that weird sort of stretching, pulling metal under tension sounds, which is maybe unsettling for anyone who hasn't been on a ship that's been fired up after being off for a long time. But over the course of just maybe 30 seconds, it diminishes down to just the usual quiet, low hum and drum of spaceships that you are used to. All the main lights fully turn on, and Percival, for what it's worth, extends, essentially gaining a body as more power to the ship occurs, although he seems to be locked into that sort of central table. It would appear the ship is prepared for drift travel, or combat, or exploration, or whatever you desire it to do.
For the moment, I think we're just getting out of Dodge. Do we need to reposition for a spot that's safe to drift from, or are we good? to
Allow me to check the external sensors once more.
Debris field.
Yes, we should certainly make for clear pastures before attempting drift travel. I am remiss, we have not had formal introductions aside from me telling you that I am Percival.
Sorry, pal. My name's Thurgood Vale, and these are my associates.
Just simply sort of nods.
Rue.
Pleasure.
CV2.
Interesting choice of name.
Wasn't a choice.
Just Doc.
Doc.
Fun to see another member of similar stature aboard the Gant. It's been some time since, well, someone of your height was here.
Just
I
wait
can
till you
tell.
see Maku.
There are more.
We've
Checking
got 2 more companions.
Rolodex.
internal scanners. Down in engineering, a little halfling bust appears sort of in front of the two of you, or in front of you and nearby to you, taking a look at both of you. Pleasure to introduce myself. My name is Percival. Who have I had the pleasure of finding?
My name is Maku Makadin.
Pleasure. He doesn't have any hands to extend, so he sort of looks at it awkwardly and nods. and you?
Hello, Percival. I am Nival. And do like a little bow.
And he bows accordingly with you. The Gant is, and now speaking to you, those of you on the bridge can see that he's sort of like frozen in place a little bit, as if he can only really be in one place at a time on the ship. But to you both, the Gant is at your disposal. With the ship fully powered, as it is, I believe someone on the bridge is intending to move the ship. I would suggest not being in engineering when it does so. It tends to get inhospitable at times.
Oh, thank you for the warning. Did we grab all our stuff off the other ship?
I don't have stuff.
Yes.
Oh, I need to go get my lock.
Your what?
Wasn't the lock in your? Didn't you put him in
put it in the
your
drone.
No, you said it was as big as my drone. Because you
Oh.
said it was big.
Oh.
Because I was like rocking around with it like this.
Yeah, so yeah, it would be somewhere on board the Vangst.
Did we get all the cool stuff off there? Wasn't there like weapons?
Yeah, we grabbed that
got the
stuff when we came
weapons.
over.
Yeah, we can say it.
The weapons,
ended
the
up in
flight
shuttle
suits,
bay.
the photos,
brought it over when you
the
jumped.
Put
yeah.
the honey.
It's
Yeah.
narrative space.
Yeah.
Hey, Percy.
Percival, please.
Oh, sorry. My friend told me your name was Percy.
I have yet to correct them.
That's okay.
Ominous.
Is there any cool stuff on here that I could play with?
Aside from the Masser, which you would know is a giant weapon on the ship, not so much. The Gant is very old, and was the peak of technology in my time. Times have, I assumed, changed.
Do you have any like old equipment I could take apart?
All of it.
No. Percival, you may want to narrow that recommendation.
Oh,
I do know what things are required to fly the ship.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't doubt that. However, there's strategic timing for when things should and should not be taken apart.
I meant like maybe it was in storage and no one used it anymore.
no, the cargo holds on the lower deck are currently empty.
Okay.
Back on the bridge, leaving the two of you in engineering, we'll get to you guys. Percival sort of springs back into existence. That weird glitch, like our cameras, working, sort of with a bit of a flicker. I have spoken to your compatriots in engineering, and the ship, as you know, is prepared to leave. Whoever desires to take control of the helm of the vessel, it should be easy enough to plot a course to free ourselves from the debris field. With the shields up and functioning as they are, it should not be an issue whatsoever.
Bueno. I'm gonna hustle over to the pilot seat and sink in.
Certainly.
Does it fit me?
No, it's more. This is something you're used to. This is more of like a wedge. You got to sort of wiggle the butt in a little bit, and thankfully, the console, the chair you're in, doesn't give way. Unlike the sort of it's sturdy. A ship of this size is certainly built to last. So although you need to wedge yourself in, you conform to the ship, not the other way around, which is good. Unlike the moat, easily enough firing up the console, you can easily enough find the various buttons and levers and switches you need to navigate this ship just to clear space, essentially. Please give me a piloting check, because you technically failed it.
Technically. I very nearly did, but it's a 10.
A 10. Okay, so you definitely all hear, and Maku and Nival down in engineering, you hear the sound of the Gant beginning to sort of spring to life a little bit as the engines at the rear begin to whir. The whole ship does sort of shake, not quite violently, but certainly uncomfortably for a couple of seconds as it begins to build inertia. And I imagine you're starting to feel it and wondering, have I maybe messed it up a little bit? Because despite your best efforts, you do, unfortunately, crash into or drive through several pockets of debris, which would have been probably unavoidable, I imagine, given the sort of cluster of debris. But over a span of maybe 10 minutes or so, the Gant, because it's not quick, does manage to sort of force itself into clear space, kind of like a ship trying to find clear water. And after about 5 minutes, the clinking, panging, and well, pretty loud ka-thunking off the outside of the ship diminishes, and you know with certainty that you're free and clear enough of this debris field that you could, if you wanted to, punch in some coordinates and make for drift travel. I'll pass it off to you guys. Oh, I will say, in the engineering bay, when the ship engines were fired, you definitely understand Percival's warning, as a couple of times some sort of streams of or jets of steam shoot out in some areas, and a couple of like mechanical apparatuses that are sort of like gates or levers that keep the ship operational pretty violently switched, sort of as if it's changing gears almost in a sense. And you can see if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, it's not going to wait for you. You might get mushed. It's a kind of thing you could learn, you're pretty sure, over just a couple of hours, but it's not something you want to be unfamiliar with in combat or a stressful situation. What are the two? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, as we're like positioning and stuff, I'm wanting to observe as much as I can the things drifting towards the like
Certainly.
whatever that
So
thing is.
inside the ship, can you actually please give me a computer use check?
Yeah.
You can cue into the sensors from the captain's console if you so desired.
Do that. Computers. Okay.
That'd be
24.
24. Using the sensors of the ship, which are rudimentary at best, more than the moat had, I suppose. it can track a couple of dozen things at a time. I can tell you that it seems as if it's only those infospheres, the small little globules of information, that are being pulled towards the center, and that it's collecting other debris by mistake, it seems. As if the infospheres are clicking into corpses or clicking into debris, and just because it's zero gravity, things are all being pulled in the same direction. In the sort of intervening maybe 10 or 15 minutes since you left the Vengst and did this whole process, you can see that mass in the center is progressively getting bigger and bigger and bigger, until eventually you imagine every infosphere available will be crammed into the center, along with a whole bunch of other debris and corpses and the like.
In observing this, are they all gray? The ones that are going
Yes.
towards it? Okay.
Yeah, the only one that appears to have any sort of spark of
Is the
life
one we
is the
picked
one
up.
you guys have.
Perfect.
Yes. So I'll pass it off to you guys down in engineering.
I believe we should get somewhere else.
That's probably a good idea.
Would we have an idea of where the bridge was? We knew they walked that way.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Eventually, the two of you emerge into the sort of rear of the bridge, seeing that large communal area with Percival in full body form, just sort of standing reasonably silently, watching the rest of the crew begin the process. Rue is behind the captain's console as it speaks, and Thurgood has jammed themselves into the pilot's chair, ready to punch it into drift travel, should you so desire.
Yeah, last pit stop before we hit Absalom. Anything we want from this wreckage field, or where are we going?
I think Absalom Station.
Oh, we're going. Punch it.
What I'm going to need actually is someone to please, specifically the pilot, to give me a navigation check. It's a piloting check.
This might be handy, and I'm going to toss in my Starstone compass. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's not really going to help until we're in the Pact Worlds, but it gives you a bonus to your navigation or something.
So later, not now.
Later, not
All
now. But I still toss it to you now.
You can stick it on the console.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
13.
13. Okie dokie. It's definitely going to take you a little bit of time. So you punch in the coordinates based on the information you got, what should be the Starstone beacon. It's going to take you 5 days, it seems, of drift travel to make it there, assuming nothing befalls you. You do know that sort of time does fluctuate. Even if you were sort of just outside the Pack World, it still might take you 6 days. And if you were a bajillion miles away, it might take you 1 day. It's just kind of the way the Starstone works. It's a very unexplained phenomenon that a lot of people are trying to figure out and have been for some time. But it gives you the ETA, assuming no traffic, 5 days time in order to get there. As you sort of type in those coordinates and prepare to press the actual drift engine button to get ready to go, before that happens, the ship sort of subtly begins to vibrate at first. And wondering what it might be, through one of these sort of the camera viewports in the main bridge, you can see that the Vangst has fired up its engines, as if Tash has finally come out of his stupor and has started the process of getting his ship ready to go. And it does appear at least on first inspection, that it is heading back down towards the planet of Cerebos, as if he's going to go try to find what might remain of his crew, if he's any lucky. It doesn't appear as if they're paying you any attention, as it is. It's up to you, Thurgood. You can punch it when you want.
Oh yeah, definitely punching it right now.
Okay. It's anticlimactic. Punch. Nothing happens at first. You keep hitting the button, and Percival, for what it's worth, way behind you, chimes in, if you continue to press the button, it won't go any faster. You keep pressing, keep pressing, but you watch as through the view screens, they begin to sort of almost flicker and glitch out a little bit. They almost dilate ahead of you, as if something is in fact happening. Now, you've all been in drift travel before, and it is almost the classic stretched out view where the ship gets pulled into essentially a tunnel system that connects the whole universe together. And although it is pretty quiet and reasonably drawn out, the ship does begin to elongate, feeling a bit strange to all of you, before with a bit of a sort of wibbly shunt, you all appear, or the ship appears in the drift, moving at a sort of uncomparable speed. There's nothing to reference, but you know that you're going well above the speed of light, and you're heading, assuming the coordinates are right, directly towards the Starstone at Epsilon Station. Pretty quickly, the ship sort of just settles into drift travel, which has a pretty distinct, if not possibly annoying, low hum in the distance, which is either some weird friction on the ship outside, or it's the drift engine itself keeping you going, but you all recognize it. And it happens on every ship you're on. When you're in the drift, there's that annoying little hum and a little buzz. Percival chimes up. We should be at Absalom Station in 5 days' time.
All right, get comfy, everyone. Where was the galley?
Oh, it's just if you go down the elevator down one floor, it's right there. And there's lots of little machines you can choose, but I'm pretty sure they're all the same.
All right.
Do you want me to show you how to push the buttons really cool and make fun things?
I have one thing in mind, but yeah, we can go take a gander at it together, sure.
The two of you heading down to that main elevator, down into the galley floor itself, you see all too familiar just rows of essentially vending machines, but they're worse than vending machines because it's all the same behind.
Yep.
What do you guys want to do?
I'm going to start making something that is essentially the components of an MRE, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So not a fully cooked meal, but dehydrated things, and then like a carafe of hot water, and start assembling them individually, and then sort of find a corner and stone-faced combine the water and the food and mix it up and start.
Certainly, yeah. So the galley is probably one of the bigger chambers in this entire ship. It's a little bit smaller than the shuttle bay, which is to say it's rather large. So although there is the sort of center retractable table, there's a couple of smaller tables around that you could also sort of find it, not sort of a corner, it's a round room, but you can find yourself somewhere to sit down and start to mush all this ready-made meal together. And unfortunately, as you start to pick the components, like it or not, they're all gray. And they all mush together to be gray.
Yep.
But mission accomplished. You have now a gray pile of food in front of you. It smells probably as good as it tastes, but it didn't seem to bother Maku at all.
Right. Just loudly, just mouths.
So loud you can probably hear it upstairs. Gross,
Maku's
horrendous.
gonna go back and he's going to make it so it looks like a soft ice cream cone.
It's just an ice cream cone of gray, nondescript goo.
Wow.
Does it stay together like a soft ice cream would?
I'm imagining
Yeah,
that
like a soft
goop
ice
would
cream
just
in the hot summer. It just immediately begins to sort of.
If it's got a puppy, I can imagine it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that for you?
Do you want it? Because I can make another one.
Sure. You know what? All things being equal and gray, sure.
Do you want me to make you a bigger one? Because that one's kind of Maku size.
I just kind of like chuck it. That's sort of, yeah.
It lands right in the gullet. Tastes exactly like the potatoes that you made, and the steak that you made, and the fettuccine you made. It's all the same.
Yeah. Lap of luxury.
That's not bad.
In the grand scheme of things, no, we could be floating cold and dead in the reaches of space, and we're not. It's mighty lucky. Man, we really haven't had a second to breathe, have we? Yeah.
No, it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You okay, bud?
Yeah. Yeah, just mulling things over. This is it's been a long time since I've been off the Mayaposas.
Oh,
Yeah. There for
did you have friends up there?
I don't know if anybody's really friends on the Mayaposas, right? It's sort of the losers pool is designed to keep people at each other's throats, but a couple of pals maybe. But pal for me is a very broad term. Like your lawyer could be your pal. Your dad could be your pal.
Your agent.
My agent. Has CV2 come down? Is anybody else here? Or is it just me and the little furry guy? Could have.
You just accidentally put your comm on.
Yeah. Just booming across the little ship.
Who's hot micing the comms? I can hear Thurgood eating.
These all sound like friends to me.
Yeah, pals. Yeah. Pals. Yeah. What about?
Oh, I said Percival.
No.
Sorry.
Yes.
Is there somewhere where I can go to meditate? I feel the need to meditate while we're in the drift.
Well, the cargo hold is open and currently very dark, if that is what you're seeking. Perhaps the power core holding chamber could also be an option if you want to be more close to fusion power, or perhaps one of the several chambers that are available in the crew quarters.
Okay. I'll take a walk.
Can I hang on to that bag of the
of course.
infospheres?
Taking a walk, where are you headed?
I haven't been anywhere yet. Let's go down to the crew quarters, and then I want to check out the sensors and the power core and the cargo bay.
Oh my Jesus! So we'll do the cargo bay or the power core first because it's sort of on this direction. When you go through a sort of rearmost door at the back of the ship, you see a couple of things. One is a very obviously shielded containment unit for the power core, which through a small little porthole you can see this swirling, probably fusion power inside. You can also see that there's really no way to access it from here. It's probably through engineering at the very least to maybe access the actual core, although why anyone would want to, it really remains to be seen. There's also access to sort of the inner gubbins of the thruster housing back here. If any actual maintenance needs to be done here, several crawl spaces are available to head down. This could potentially be a good spot to meditate. There's enough room for a person, essentially, to stand right in front of that portcullis looking in to the fusion core if you wanted to. But having not decided yet, you head on down, having to go through the elevator to find yourselves in the galley, hearing this conversation as sort of the elevator comes down, they're going back and forth about friends and pals before you can
And I made
go
my
in.
comment about your agent.
My agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frozen.
Hey, what do you mean by that?
Your agent would be your pal.
Yeah, who's my agent?
I don't know. I assumed Thurgood Vale had an agent.
You're right. You are
Curse
right.
you.
Yeah.
What is an agent?
It's like well, ostensibly, if you are a talented individual, it is the person who manages your
Your war hero adventures?
boy. Sure.
Okay.
For the sake of argument, sure. If somebody was famous for war hero adventures, they might have somebody who booked them, right, for speaking tours and things of that nature.
A war hero for hire?
You know, Maku, you're more right than I wish you were. But yeah, sure. Sure, pal.
That's really cool.
That's
But like, wouldn't that be kind of like a manager?
Yeah. Somebody who manages every waking moment of your life, what you eat, who you speak to, that sort of thing.
Oh,
yeah.
that sounds awful.
Well, yeah.
Do you have to have a special diet to be a war hero?
I just gesture at the liquefying mass on my plate. Find a hard bit and kind of flick it across the room.
It sticks.
Once upon a time, yeah.
Oh.
Managing my figure.
I wouldn't want somebody to tell me that I could only eat one thing. That would be so boring.
Well, yeah. If you could be famous for one thing, Maku, what would you be famous for?
That is a really good question. I don't know. I have to think about that one because there are so many things I could be famous for, maybe. But I don't know. I am not a cool war hero like you.
No
If you're famous for being a war hero, why don't you want me to talk about it?
I'm gonna hit the comms. Hey, we're having a great powwow down here in the alley. If anybody else wants to come down, we got
This feels
gray
like
foods.
a real personal conversation. I'm just gonna keep going down to the car.
Yeah, you're walking with purpose. What are you doing?
I'm
heading to the galley.
Everybody else will go into the galley. You go down to the cargo hold. So they're just carrying on, just disappearing through the elevator in the same galley.
Listening to this conversation.
Trying to jam the door closed button as best you
Wordlessly
can.
wave.
I will say there is no door closed. It's just a platform that goes up and down. Yeah. When you get down to the bottom, sort of this conversation trailing away as you go deeper into the ship, the elevator does empty out into essentially the middle of the cargo hold. Now, the cargo hold on the Gant is actually 4 separate chambers that are all individually sort of bulkheaded and sealed from one another. But you definitely get the immediate impression that it could be pretty easily reconfigured to be one singular large cargo hold if you needed to. It has some modularity built into it. And the elevator you're on doesn't have any actual supports or anything that get it down to the main floor. It just sort of like drifts on some sort of quasi-hover technology to get down to the bottom as to not interfere with any of the cargo. Here you could see you could fit probably 100 tons worth of stuff easily enough inside the ship. It's pretty considerable. And to let you all know above table what that means, when we get into the potential sort of trade, travel, and salvaging things, you could fit 4 lots of cargo inside this, each cargo bay allowing 1 lot of cargo. You could fit another half of one up in the shuttle bay, assuming there's nothing in it, which there currently isn't. But inside this reasonably cavernous chamber, it is dead silent. And it seems that Percival has not turned on the lights for you on purpose. He knows what you're doing. You can see in the distance, sort of on the far side of the cargo chamber, there's a small little screen with Percival's face on it, and it's hard to make out any detail, but he's probably smirking at you because the lights are off.
Okay.
As you get into the cargo bay. This main, or this bottom floor of the ship has really nothing in it aside from these 4 continuous cargo bays and the drift engine proper, which is sealed behind a bulkhead as well. What do you want to do? The elevator also goes up.
Yeah, okay. Step off. I'll move to the cargo bay that is closest to the drift engine. And I'm going to sit right in the middle of that room, like the exact middle, and just sit cross-legged and get into a meditative pose, and just a little thing circling around me is it. That's all.
Sure. So if anyone were to be looking in, you would just see a completely pitch black chamber with an android sitting on the floor, casting your own little light. And weirdly, especially once the platform sort of seals into the ceiling, completely cutting off all light, aside from the floor you're sitting on, beyond about 10 or 15 feet, you can't see anything at all. It's as if you are in the complete void of space. Your light and a little tiny light coming through a little window that leads to where the drift engine is all that's available. And I will say, for at least a moment, you definitely could feel as if your light and its light are connected in some ways. There's nothing else in this chamber. It could be 1,000 meters across or 10 feet. It wouldn't matter because it's just you and this light right now.
Excellent.
Relaxing.
Tuning into the drift engine and feel the power core above me and just relax.
At one with the ship almost.
At one with the ship.
We're trying to be.
Part of the crew.
It's older than I am.
It's older than a lot of people, yeah.
Flirting with the ship.
The rest of you on the bridge, the sort of lift comes up and you can come on down. As Thurgood has said, you're having a nice little powwow in the galley. Immediately, you can smell the distinct smell of no smell at all coming from that food. You can see it and expect it to have an odor, and it doesn't whatsoever. Pass it out to you guys.
I'm gonna go punch in my favorite from back home.
Certainly. What is your favorite?
Oh, it's just 278.
Sure, that helps.
It's a bowl of 278.
Certainly.
Tried them all at 278.
278.
Certainly. So I will say 278 is what we might call mac and cheese, but considering the mac is gray and the cheese is gray, it's essentially a bowl of, well, 278. It's exactly how you remember.
I want some extra 8 with it.
Yeah, a little bit more comes out.
Perfect.
Good to go.
Yep, I'm gonna go join them.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Hey,
What's up?
not much. What's up, Doc?
Everyone gets
That'll
one.
never come up again.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
Oh my god.
I heard we were having some familiar conversations.
Oh, I was asking Mr. Thurgood.
About questions, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's famous, but he doesn't want me to talk about it.
Maku was in a gang. Because Maku wears gang colors, and I want to know more about that.
You want to know about my gang, the Skitters?
I was actually wondering about that
Go
too.
ahead, please, if you could enlighten us.
Oh, yeah, no, we were a gang. Well, I was an honorary member of the gang. I didn't do a lot of the bad stuff. I just kind of helped them keep their ship going. But they were pretty nice. They just kind of went and they tore apart other people's ships who were like lost in space.
So were you Tash?
I am Maku.
But
Were you the equivalent of Tash?
But I'm a Skittermander. I don't understand the question.
Never mind.
Did you wander around in the crawl spaces and sort of sabotage things if you had to, or just keep the ship running? Did you ever get put in the brig?
Oh no, I did not get put in the brig. No, we had lots of fun. I didn't sabotage anything.
Right. Okay. So you said you would salvage ships in space, and the inhabitants, the people inside of it.
Oh, there were no people inside. Usually there were no people inside.
Right. And in the rare case that there were people inside of it.
I did not go on those ships. They would not let me go on those ships. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, ignorance is bliss. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So why did you leave the Skitter ship then?
I just wanted to see other stuff.
Okay.
I got a little bored. You know, they taught me a lot about how ships work, and they taught me a lot about piloting, but they never really let me fly the ship, but they let me learn how to fly the ship. And they made me this really cool jacket, which kind of rubs my fur the wrong way. I don't know how they wear it. But yeah, I kind of got bored, and I wanted to see more other stuff. They really just did ships, and then they went back and they sold the parts of the ships, and then they went to get new ships, and after a while, you know, it gets kind of boring.
You do seem to be a genius with ships.
I have some talents. I really like how they work, so I just kind of really got into it. I've always been that little handy skitter.
I believe it will come in handy for sure.
Yes.
But the Mayaposis was like a playground then with that background, yeah?
Oh yeah, they wouldn't let me touch anything, no. I would get in trouble sometimes for trying.
Oh, you know.
I did get put in the brig on the Mayaposis.
Yeah, well, they were trying to keep that big old hunk of junk together. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they foresaw getting bear hugged by a metal sphere.
Yeah. I wonder if that was an accident or on purpose. It kind of just kept going, so maybe it just doesn't have eyes. Like maybe it did not see the Mayaposis in its way.
Right.
I'm trying to imagine Thurgood's actual face making that face. It's a lot of fun.
Struggling with it. Yeah. What the hell was that?
That is a
By
valid
the
point,
way.
though, that it may not have been an intentional attack, but it did seem to originate in the planet.
I have never seen one of those before. I have nothing in my notes.
But wasn't there a secondary one too? Like there are two things that drifted off from
Inside
there.
of the Mayaposis was part of the superstructure.
Maybe.
Seemed like.
All I can tell you definitively is when you check the scanners, there was a pair of anomalies, highly radioactive anomalies, that were moving away from the wreckage of the Mayaposis and sort of orbiting around one another, like a binary star, almost heading that direction. But
So either it split, Or it picked up a second one at the Myoposis.
I think it's just two siblings meeting up again. And
Do
just
you think one got kidnapped by the Myoposis?
maybe the other one got kidnapped by Cerebos. Who knows?
You think it got kidnapped by a whole planet?
Crazy shit happens after that.
That's
Yeah.
the craziest shit I've ever heard.
You would think that the Mariposa would then avoid Cerebos, unless they were unaware.
Unaware or something bigger going on. There always is. Yeah.
Percival.
Yes.
You're like a genie.
I suppose, in a way, yes.
Would you have any information on the radioactive mass that came through, well, through the middle of the Myoposis recently?
The only source of radioactive energy aboard many ships is the power core itself. Unless the Myoposis was carrying dangerous goods of some sort, which it very well could have been. No.
I have a question for you, Mr. Percival.
Yes.
Do you backlog your cameras when you're asleep?
I do not, no.
Also, I can't kind of go backwards and...
There's only so much room for data storage on board my mainframe, and 300 years of cameras would add up.
It was only a couple hours ago.
I do not know.
Oh.
Well, P-Man, do you have any
Percival, please.
Percival, right?
Yes.
Percival. Is there anything we should know about on here? Anything interesting? Any hidden ancient gold? Any dead heroes slumbering?
If there were something hidden aboard the Gant, it would be hidden from me as well. I only know what the infrastructure is doing, what the power core, sensors, and shields are doing. If I wasn't looking, I wouldn't know where any of you were at any given time. I am, unfortunately, easy to hide from.
So there could be cool things on the ship. to
There
play
could
with.
be.
Speaking of, and then Nivel's going to go back to continuing her sweep.
Mhm.
She had started and stopped when we found the engineering.
Oh,
so she
can I come?
I'm just saying, speaking of, and then she's going to start walking.
Very
Interpret that as you want.
Nivel steps out. If you want to follow, you can.
Did you just walk away? You didn't say anything?
I said, speaking of,
And then just...
started walking.
Okay, Maku probably won't.
Certainly. So the only other place you have really to explore are the weapons and sensors, which, although on your little map you guys have, are separate, it's only separated by a bulkhead. They're connected very, very close to one another. The weapons area has room or has 4 additional seats, each of which could be connected to other guns if the ship were to ever be reconfigured to have more than just a singular gun controlled from the main bridge. Aside from that, go ahead.
Sorry, so it can have total 5?
It could have up to 5.
Okay.
Yes. If you ever were to reconfigure it, which we can get to down the road if we need to. There also is here in the weapons area a series of weapon racks that could be used to store personal weapons in the event that the ship was, say, boarded. For example, this could be a sort of last redoubt aboard this ship, as it is as secure as the power core or drift engine. The walls here seem to be a little bit more thick. The bulkheads are a little bit more sturdy. So this is a reinforced chamber, and the only one you've seen thus far. Even the bridge isn't quite this sturdy.
Yep.
And then finally, on the other side of the bulkhead is the sort of sensor suite, the science officer domain, where it has a vastly increased sort of sensor suite, where from the captain's chair, you can kind of sort of key into it. But here, it is just a panel wall of screens that sort of concurrently show every exterior camera all at once, as well as a couple of interior ones, if you so desire. You can see everybody in the galley on one of the screens, and you can even see a tiny mote of light down in what you presume to be the cargo hold, where CV2 is currently.
I would be unaware of CV2 going to meditate.
But you can still see them.
Yeah.
Like the camera's still there, yeah.
Yeah.
And aside from that, you can see that it is casting a sort of, essentially a radar in all directions right now, which you expect to bring absolutely nothing as you're in the drift. But were you not in the drift, you'd be able to see reasonably far away from you, especially compared to the moat. Where the moat, you are limited by your eyeballs, essentially. Here, you have probably a couple dozen miles worth of sensors sweeping, if you so desire.
Cool.
But that's within those 2 other chambers, a fortified weapons room and the sensor suite.
I don't think we got to the cargo and the drift engine and the thrusters, though.
You did not.
Yeah, I'd keep going then.
Okay, so at this time, you had to go back into the galley in order to do so. So you come striding back in to hear some of this conversation, and Are you saying anything to anybody? You're just heading on down. Just walk in. Boop.
Just like I did.
Just like you do. And you do have your meditation not quite broken, but certainly interrupted by a little cascade of light coming down from the ceiling as the platform begins to drift down, bringing just Nival with it.
It's gonna be she's gonna be walking, but like her watching. She's like completely unaware of what you are doing and why, because she wasn't up on the deck when you guys were talking about it. And it's just sort of more like a what the fuck.
And
She's like,
you get to do this cool thing because you're a robot where you can like turn your head and
yeah,
just
yeah,
keep
no,
on.
yeah. I'm like unabashedly like watching you, one eye, like.
Yeah.
Fuck is that?
I mean, I sense that she walks by, but I don't even move.
Certainly.
I would note too internally. She would note that it'd be probably strikingly pretty if he's sitting there and the your shadows would just like shift constantly, it'd be hypnotic.
Yeah.
So she at least thinks that. Then keeps going.
And thankfully have the presence of mind to not bump into anything. As you're looking this way, you sort of at the last second don't hit the bulkheads as you step into the next cargo bay, the next one, and the next one, and find that, at least upon first viewing, all 4 of them are entirely empty, devoid of anything. I will let you know that each of them, if you were to picture the ship like a U-shaped almost, all the cargo bays open from either side of all 4 of them. And if they were reconfigured to be one large cargo bay, they would sort of open like 2 flap doors. Sort of like the ones you got onto the vent that folded down. So things need to be driven on. In the event you were to vent yourself into space, that's how you would do it. But aside from that, no, the cargo bays are completely and entirely empty. It's calm. It's quiet. All things considered. Just a little hum of the drift travel.
And the drift engine and the thrusters?
So the drift and the thrusters, you don't really have access to them as much as maybe if you needed to like repair things, you could force yourself to get access to them. But for the most part, there's nothing to see.
You have to swoop and look.
Yeah, you sort of move past CV2 to poke your head through the little window to see the drift engine, which is completely lost on you what it is. It's a huge, complicated series of tubes, apparatuses, and pipes. But it's making the ship move at the very, very least.
Okay. Back to CV2, she probably will stop and be like, "Are you all right?"
I am meditating.
And just kind of like swoop down and squat in front of him, like watching. You don't appear to be doing anything.
I am becoming one with the universe.
You still appear to be one with yourself.
We are passing by and traveling through forces that are beyond our comprehension. Stars going supernova, stars collapsing on themselves, stars being born, black holes consuming other supernovas. It's a delicate balance.
And you are becoming one with that?
I have to find myself in that balance.
If I sit here, can I do that?
You can try.
Okay, she'll plop down. It's kind of like roughly clink.
Clunk.
Certainly.
Sword on shoulder, then kind of like look at him, look at sword, look at him, and like maybe place it down and like really try.
Certainly. If you could both give me mysticism check, please.
Oh god.
Become one with.
Oh my god, I became one!
This is when you roll a 20, he rolls a 1. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Blink away.
I just
You did not.
No, I rolled a 2.
14.
14. So as you try your best to sort of sink into a meditative trance, I can just imagine over the course of a couple of minutes, you've locked yourself in. You've forgotten that Nival is sitting just a few feet away, and you have indeed felt this connection to the drift. And you're right. The ship probably is passing all sorts of stellar anomaly at breakneck speeds. If anything, the ship going through the drift is itself an anomaly, when you really think about it. Nival, from your point of view, after a minute or two, you sort of like look over at CV2, who's completely one with the universe, and it's not quite working for you at all. You have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. She'll stick it out though. She can just sit there quietly.
Forever. The two of you can sit there forever.
Yeah.
I imagine every once in a while here's
Yeah, she'll like peek her eye open and be like, nope, okay.
And I'll peep when I open and say, this is normal for the first time. It's okay.
Good, because I am feeling nothing.
Becoming one with the universe is not something that just happens. It is something that is mysterious, bestowed for no reason on nobody until they become somebody.
Like, calculating. You've only been alive for 2 years, correct?
2 years and 6 days.
I see. And you've been meditating for those 600 and some odd days?
No, I meditate when I'm in the drift. And I went through some training when I first become a Solarian.
I admire that. I still feel nothing.
I didn't feel anything either until it happened.
Well, I will let you know when something happens or I feel it. It just kind of goes quiet again.
So the two of you are sitting there in silence, one at one with the universe, or the other trying to be quiet and feel anything at all. All you can feel is the sort of vibration in your legs, essentially, as the ship is just drifting through the drift. That's what you're feeling, if anything, and it maybe is real.
Am I feeling it?
Yeah.
No, it's just the ship moving.
In the interim, you guys up to anything?
So, when we get to Absalom Station,
Yeah.
we're looking for this Tezafreer guy.
Tezafreer, yeah, I think so.
I think we found something on the bridge of the Myoposis that they might be interested in.
Okay.
And I pull out the orb, the colored infosphere.
Is this a medical thing?
It's an infosphere, so it's essentially like a thought or a consciousness. And I don't know, the message we got referred to something about the remainder of their consciousness having coalesced aboard the Myoposis.
Right.
This was the only one that seemed to be almost alive still.
Mm-hmm.
The others around were all gray. And I don't know if you noticed when we were back amongst all the wreckage of the Myoposis, but they were all kind of drifting and gathering together in one central spot there and growing larger.
It looks like this one.
Oh.
And you can see the stark difference between the two of them. This one that Maku's holding looks like the food you're eating, essentially, and the one that Rue is holding is this very vibrant, roiling purple, almost like food coloring and glitter inside a viscous water swirling around. And even though you sort of hold it up and it swirls from the motion, long after you've held it still, it continues to move as if it's a self-shaking snow globe, almost continuously moving. There's a stark difference.
Yeah, no, that's a good find. I mean, aside from our words, that's probably the only clue we got, right? As far as telling people what happened out here. I don't know how much people even care about the Myoposis back in Absalom. I mean, we're looking out for the Starfinders specifically.
Yeah, I think the Starfinder Society is kind of probably pretty interested in the goings on in general. But I don't know if they're expecting us. This reed maker as well. I don't know anything about that. The reed maker must be stopped.
Not even a little bit. Ooh. I mean, I just said ignorance is bliss, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in this. Yeah. Never seen anything like that in my life. Seen some pretty crazy, conflagrations, but nothing like metal sphere, ripping a ship like the Myoposis apart. It's wild business.
Never seen anything like it myself either.
You do seem like you've seen things, right? I mean, there's a handful of capable people here, and I'd at least mentally count you among them.
I've seen some things, yes.
I figured. You fight well. Where'd you pick that up?
Mostly at home. But I've been away for a while. I hold my own. I make sure that I survive. At times that's easier than others.
Sure. So you mostly fight for yourself, or are you fighting for
Yes.
not a bigger cause? Fair enough. Yeah, fighting for a bigger cause is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be. So looking out for yourself, that's admirable.
You seem hesitant to discuss your whole situation.
You know, contracts are a funny thing.
Especially those synthetical ones.
You have to sign a contract to be a war hero? Isn't Synthetical like a big corporate company?
They have
Real
lots
big.
of war heroes.
Real big. Hey, Doc, can I have a word with you privately? I'm gonna take off, conspicuously take off my watch and unclip the mechanical thing at my side. And if Doc will allow me, I'm gonna pull him to the opposite corner of the circle.
I don't think I have a lot of choice.
I just.
Yeah, so the galley of the ship is certainly large enough that you could sort of find a quiet area, but given that it's reasonably quiet, it might be hard to be fully sheltered.
Up
But
a level.
you absolutely could, yeah.
And join me on the bridge, if you will.
Sure.
I want you to know, pal, that I am not happy about my arrangement, right, with them. Okay.
Percival is there. Should I not be here?
Probably not.
He just disappears, reappears on the galley. They're talking about something that they don't want us all privy to.
He's
Yes.
probably talking about being a war hero. Hey, Percival.
We're gonna get to that. Okay, go ahead.
Where do you fall on them,
I'm not pro them.
the big S? But you know, like me, maybe owe a few things to them, right?
I owe a lot to them.
Your education, at least.
Yep.
Your ability to drug hapless engineers and leave them lying on the floor. Is that something they taught you?
Something they paid for. Maybe taught.
Mm.
And I owe them a pretty sizable debt from my family.
On behalf of your family.
Yep.
So it's not just a you thing, it's a year over year.
Generational.
You have any colleagues out there in Synthetico U?
Probably are a few.
Yeah.
Still.
Any that come to mind? Anyone like
I took off after my parents disappeared.
Shit, when did that happen? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I mean shit.
No, we had a similar setup to the Myophosis on the station I grew up. And they had accrued quite a bit of debt from some failed projects they did on behalf of Synthetical, and volunteered to go off to earn some of that back.
Yeah.
And they never came back.
Losers
and then
pool.
that got passed on to me.
Right. Yikes.
And then they offered me free school, which wasn't free. Free in that I didn't have to pay for it then.
Yeah.
And when I finished, I had to pay for it then.
Yeah.
So I got the first freighter I could get on, and I got out.
Fair enough. It took me a while to get out of the particular subsidiary armpit I was in, but I know what you mean. I mean, my parents didn't get mysteriously disappeared, but they basically worked themselves to death. On behalf. We were more the industrial side. I don't know if you ever heard of Shelisad out in the vast, kind of a snowy nothing place, but company town. We made UPPs and UPPs, basically what I just ate. There's a decent chance that that's homegrown food.
I was on a station in Delta 33.
Delta 33.
It was a subsidiary. I think it was like Synthetic Corp or something. It wasn't Inventive or anything.
Sure.
But one of those legally distinct but corporately the same.
I think I've probably slung stuff for them before. Would I have heard of Delta Corp or is
Maybe.
Synthetico so big?
Yeah, Synthetico's bureaucracy is so large that even the people who oversee it probably don't know all of its inner workings. Like, it's this vast, huge, galactic spanning organization where they might even be at conflict with one another internally and not know it somewhere in the universe. So you might have heard of it, maybe, or you've heard of Synthetico Plus or Syntheticin or some other version of it that maybe he's talking about.
Right. Well, I just want you to know when I do the thing that I do, it is not because I want to, but it is a part of the debt structure, if we'll call it, that. All right.
Where my concern is that I have no structured debt with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just debt.
It's
My repayment option is they get me and bring me back.
my repayment option, or my terms for default, Doc, I will not put it lightly, are I drop dead and start coughing up, or I drop to the floor, start coughing up blood until I die. So, believe me, it's having structured debt with Synthetico is not necessarily a better thing. But yeah, like I'm saying, I'll try to be as discreet as possible. I'll try to keep that camera away from you, if I can. But I'm locked in for the time being. All right.
Knowing Synthetico, if something happens to me, and if they knew that you were associated to me, my debt would probably become your debt.
Yikes.
Just by association.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
Yeah. So I hate to break the little guy's heart down there, but there's a good reason that I don't want him writing too many blog posts.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure this seems patently suspicious, so I think we're gonna go back downstairs if that's all right.
So as we down through the floor, the rest of you waiting for this conversation, which has been going on for some time by your guys' approximation. I'll pass it to those of you in the galley. Anything you want to do in the interim as
Well, I
they're
was
waiting?
kind of pestering Percival
certainly.
to like eavesdrop, but I'm assuming he'll probably reveal.
I will not betray the trust of any member on this ship.
Oh, that is fair. I did not think about it like that. That is fair. I'm just gonna wait for him to come back in.
I would have grabbed some food.
Yeah, food, certainly. So as this conversation is sort of as it's winding to its end, both of you do notice on the captain's console there is a sort of an alert flashing. A something on the sensors is triggering, despite the fact that you're in the drift. And without going to see, you won't know what it is, but it's pretty obvious something is blinking in the distance.
I'll walk over.
Certainly.
That's not going to be good. That's not gonna be good.
Certainly, with a couple of sort of beeps and boops and clicking of the sensors, you get a rudimentary image that comes up that kind of almost shows like the blue line GPS where you're heading towards Absalon Station, and there appears to be a anomaly on approach. Somewhere's in the distance, about a day away, probably, assuming drift travel doesn't go all wibbly-wobbly on you, there is something in the path of this sort of drift tunnel that you're currently in. And unless you drop out of the drift right now, you won't be able to avoid it, or you could potentially just hit it anyways. And being familiar with drift travel, you know that might not always be a bad thing. Sometimes there's a stop sign or construction or a hiccup or bad weather. That's essentially what it is. It's something that is unknown, and without a little bit further investigation or arriving there, you're not going to know what it's going to be. But it appears on screen in a rudimentary display right now.
I guess this is kind of a broader question. Would it just kick us out if we got there, or do we just
Probably
flash into the void?
It really does depend. Like, I can't tell you exactly what that is until it happens, if it happens. You've all heard rumors and stories of ships just disappearing in the drift, and those are just crazy tales that exist, except for the fact that some ships don't come back. So they might have some warrant to them, but unless you get there, you're not going to know.
All right.
I actually wanted to mention something. The whole time we were gone, my watch would have been there, unattended, as would have been my drone. Would that have changed my
Was it right in front of him?
I put it on the table, and then Doc and I took the elevator up. So it would have just been lying there.
If it's right in front of me, I will want to look at it.
All right. What are you looking at?
Yeah.
I'm going for the watch first because I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's as I sort of described it way back in session 0. So it's like a rather expensive looking, but like rugged, like Rolex-esque watch. It's very large, and it's a tech watch. It's not a digital watch. And the interface is sort of this blood orange, sort of neon-y aesthetic to it, and there is a symbol, a sigil on it, that is the corporate symbol of Synthetico, and it's sort of labeled as such. That's sort of the home screen.
Do you think that Synthetico sponsors his adventures.
Well, based on you didn't hear. Yes. Yes.
Yeah? So-
Well, maybe not so much sponsors, but there's definitely a link there. The he was advertising for them in the moat when you were plugging your ears and you were doing that for Doc too, but the rest of us kind of overheard a bit of that.
Oh.
Bug spray? I don't know. There's something weird about that bag too.
What's bag?
That would still be
Nothing.
on you.
No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we should pry into this stuff though. You don't know a lot about it.
Okay.
I think there's probably a reason he's so hesitant to share information, let's say.
Oh, I think he's just shy.
Mm.
Or he's very modest. If he used to be a war hero, maybe he just is a little self-conscious, or maybe he just doesn't think that he is a war hero. But if he's famous for being a war hero, I'm sure he was very good.
Being a war hero likely isn't all it's cracked up to be. He's likely seen a lot to get those scars.
Oh, yeah. Do you think he's scared?
No, but it perhaps stirs up memories that he doesn't want to discuss so much.
Oh. That would make sense. Yeah. But if he didn't like the memories, why would he still be sponsored to go do war hero stuff?
Again.
Well, I don't know. You could ask him that.
Yeah. I am very confused. I'm going to put on his watch until he gets back.
So you could wear it like a wrestler's belt.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a great big giant bear-sized watch. So you could put it over all three of your arms if you wanted to at the same time, or you could put it in the largest belt loop, as it were, and wear it like an actual belt if you wanted to. But you definitely couldn't wear it on one arm, even if in its tightest configuration.
He's probably going to put it on the tightest configuration, but then kind of try to get it up onto his shoulder. It's a little big.
You two up? Did you said you were coming down?
Yeah, we
Eventually,
would come down. And...
Right around this time, as you're coming down, you're watching as Maku is sitting there with your giant watch, acting like a shoulder bag almost, or
Oh,
the uppermost
good.
shoulder.
Oh, good. I need that right now. Thank you. Right. Sort of tap it, make sure there's...
When you do tap it and click on it, you can see that there is a message pending that hasn't arrived yet. It's one of those, it's still buffering.
Right.
Once you sort of connect with the universe again, you're probably going to have a message waiting for you.
Okay.
The one you're all too familiar with.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna lean over as I see it and just laugh and say, "Gotta pay the corporate gods."
Yo, yeah, pal. Oh, yeah.
Just briefly checking in on the cargo hold. It's been probably an hour or two. Really. What have you guys been up to, if anything, aside from just existing quietly in the cargo hold?
How long do you do this for?
As long as I can in the drift.
That could be 5 days.
That could be 5 days.
Interesting. Back on my home planet, I found a shrine to Pharasma one time. I don't believe there is any connection there either. Why would there be a shrine?
Do I know who Pharasma is?
Kind of. Let me go get the gods here.
Probably.
Yeah, you would definitely be loosely aware of why is that working? Doop-a-doo. Boop-a-doo. Yes, so there we go. You would know that Pharasma is the sort of deity of the underworld of sorts, but not in a Hades way like we consider it. It's not a passing judgment kind of way. Although that is part of their portfolio, they're certainly the caretaker of the dead, essentially, is what Pharasma is.
Okay.
Yeah. You could actually give me a mysticism check if you would like.
Oh, sure.
And I might be able to give you some more information.
Big ol' 7.
Big old 7. It's the deity of
It's the deity of the underworld.
Yeah, not much more than that. It's supposed to be the sort of bridge between living and unlife for souls, essentially.
Okay.
It's really all you know.
All right. Well, I'm really only familiar with Pharasma in terms of, is it she, female
Yes.
deity? As she is somewhat the opposite of Sarenrae.
Oh, I know all about her. I just don't understand why there would be a shrine in the middle of the snow left entirely by itself. Or possibly either why I kind of felt impulse to take care of it, although I never saw any indication of any god or entity finding peace or help or anything there. So why do this?
Why do this meditation?
Why try to connect to any sort of entity?
In my case, it's because that entity connected to me first. That is where this came from.
Well, maybe the problem is me then.
No connection doesn't mean there's a problem. No
I think
connection.
that's exactly what no connection means.
Sometimes the gods reach out and touch somebody, but most of the time the gods are happy to do their own thing.
Do gods connect with SROs?
I don't know.
Me neither.
Would I be aware if there are any like Solarian SROs?
Yeah, you can give me a mysticism check.
Another one.
Ooh, it's a nice rolling tray.
11.
11. Not that you are aware of. Specifically SRO Solarians. Whether or not there's any connection between any SROs and any deities is far beyond your scope of knowledge.
Okay.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
But
I was told that any race, any sentient being can become a Solarian, but I've not heard of an SRO Solarian.
All right. Well, I'll keep trying. Maybe I'll be the first. Yeah, yep.
trying to connect. So at this point, we're going to sort of transition into a little. Oh, we still need to talk about the sensor thingy.
Sensor?
You guys
Yep.
found
Yeah.
the sensors.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
bring it to everybody. Sorry. Carry on.
What's that?
All right, guys. So there's a roadblock in drift space coming up in about a day.
Oh,
Sweet.
should we go back to the bridge and check this out?
Can first of all, can you pull that up here?
I can arrange it to be displayed in the sensor's suite chamber.
Okay.
Okay.
So as soon as you step through, and for most of you seeing it for the first time, step through the sort of fortified weapons chamber into the sensor's chamber, you can see that the huge sort of wall-sized, many-paneled screens have all been taken over by essentially this information, this map on wide display. Sort of the awkward bezels in weird spots, which is slightly annoying, but you get the gist of it. As Doc is saying, within about a day, you're very likely going to come across an anomaly. Now, even these sensors, which are better than the motes, can't tell you much until you're probably just about upon it. This is either going to happen or not. If you jump out of the drift right now, you'll be somewheres in the vast, and you could potentially try to reconfigure coordinates and find a different way to maybe circumnavigate this. But I can't tell you with any certainty if it's benign, hostile, beneficial, anything. It's just coming.
So Thurgood,
Yeah.
how confident are you in your piloting of this vessel?
Not gonna lie. Never flown anything this big. Typically, I did in-system flying with small stuff. Did not do much drift travel. This is not my forte.
Okay.
Yeah. But, well, first time for everything. And, I don't think we really have a choice, do we? So I'll get my ass crammed in that seat when the time comes and see what I can do.
First of all, are you able to just knock us out of drift right before we get there?
I certainly can, yes. We will be left adrift for some time while the drift engines respool themselves to prepare to fire again. It could take upwards of 1 day, depending how far we find ourselves from a sun. Above table, you would know there is some mechanical thing aside where they essentially like scoop up fuel, because we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty wibbly-wobbly stuff, but it could take up to a day.
That's no matter what.
Yes.
No matter what if we drop it.
Yes, unless you drop out of drift in a sun, at which point you're ready to go right away.
Yep.
In a way. Aside from that, no.
Okay.
Nice.
We could just autopilot it Drop it when we get there. See what it is. Hope it's not bad.
But if it could take up to a day, then we might just run into it if we don't come out now.
I mean, how often is it that things like poke into the drift like this?
I've never seen it before. I'm very
I
interested.
don't know.
I've not done much drift travel myself.
Great.
The ship seems to be rather robust compared to what we've been flying on previously. I can at least tell you that. It looks like we currently have a gun mounted.
Yep.
What do we take off that other? There was some sort of, or no, that was a
The
big
small
weapon for
arms.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just a
No. Okay.
sidearm, as it were.
Nothing
By
else we
comparison.
can mount.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what it is at all. It could be a storm. It could be.
Yeah, I don't think firing on it is the best thing to do. I think we go with
No, but if we need to, it's good to know that we've got something mounted.
yeah.
In my time on like the freighters, would this have been something like how does this happen often?
Yeah,
Enough
so
that,
there
like-
are. I will let you specifically because you were on freighters. I'll let you know this. There is sort of, I want to call them trade routes, sort of networks through the drift that exist that are pretty tried and true, that don't typically have too many problems. It's when you're doing drift travel from a relatively unknown location to a known location where you're essentially trailblazing through quasi-known space. So in the trade routes, no, it's very uncommon because they've found sort of safe passage through the drift, as it were. You guys are forging your own trail, essentially. And you definitely have heard rumors that it's more common, and that's why trade routes exist, to avoid these kinds of problems. So, maybe.
Well, I'll give you the well, I'm a doctor, not a pilot. It's not. We're not on one of the trade routes, so it could just be something that we have to stop, drive around for a day, and then go again.
Pull like a 300-point turn, as it were, just kind of for a day.
Exactly.
All right, yeah.
We're essentially like plotting a new path right now.
Yeah. If we drop out of drift travel, is there anywhere of knowing where we're dropping out into?
So you would, the only real thing you have access to right now is knowing where the Starstone is.
Yeah.
So if you were to drop it out of the drift, you have no clue of knowing where you are. In fact, there are rules that exist for trying to figure that out.
Okay.
But right now, you are in space, somewhere between where you started and where you're going. That's honestly it.
Maybe somewhere between those points.
You're somewhere between those 2 points, and time goes all wibbly wobbly in between. So it's really hard. You
Yeah.
could pop out in just the vast void of space with nothing around whatsoever, at which point you'd be relatively safe, all things considered. Or you could pop yourselves into the middle of a interplanetary war between two. Who knows?
Like 800 kilometers away from where we started.
Yeah.
Lovely time.
Yeah.
Here's the
A
thing.
day has passed. There's the wreckage of the Myposis.
Well,
I think we should check it out.
you know, the ship has big bones. The ship has life support. The ship has great paste that comes out of it too. I think all things considered, we're safe enough
Yeah.
in the short term. Got the bottom of the hierarchy of needs handled. I think we're good to check this out for a hot second.
Could even be a black hole or a supernova that happened to be too close to our route, and that would be just glorious.
You're looking refreshed.
I am. It was a much needed first time I've had a chance to meditate since we crashed, and then the ship exploded.
Yeah.
It was long overdue.
Welcome back to the land of the living. I really hope. I mean, your whole thing is that you like are in tune with the celestial bodies, right? So like, I don't know. You couldn't tell us what this thing is, could you?
No idea.
Well, shit.
Could be anything.
If you're one with the universe, you would know if it was a black hole, right?
Not the whole universe. the immediate universe around me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how far is immediate? Like to here? Or to here?
To the there.
Oh yeah, that's not very
That's
far.
not very far.
Right.
I've only been doing this for a few months.
Do you think if you did it longer, you would be able to tell what it is?
Maybe. I won't know till I'm older.
Yeah, you're not very old.
So it's about a day away the sensor state? Yeah, okay. So maybe we get some rest. Well, we probably should keep someone up in case it's something that is advancing on us.
Yeah, you got it.
You look very tired. Would you like me to stay up?
I was just about to offer to take watch because I don't sleep well.
I bet you Doc could help you with that.
Probably. Can help anyone sleep well.
Yeah, seen that in
Is
action.
it restful sleep?
In your
Unconscious
medical
sleep.
opinion.
You will wake
Okay.
up
Hey, Doc.
eventually.
Speaking of which, do you have any more of those fun drugs you gave
Oh
to Tash?
boy.
Yes.
How long do they last?
It's new.
It's new?
Yeah, that was new.
Well, like
That
Tash
was
got
based
to
off the mushrooms that you gave me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to try some of it?
Oh boy.
Oh.
I don't
Kids.
right now, but I can give you some.
Oh, wait, we got the day.
Wait, we're about to encounter this thing.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
deal with the external unknowns before traversing, the mind space.
I would maybe wait until we're right about there and figure out whether or not it's worth it to do it before it's about to happen. Because it might either make it really more easy or a lot more fun.
Or it might be the
Or
last thing
much
you
more
do.
terrifying.
Yeah.
We may need all hands on deck for that encounter at like full capability. Like Maku's proven pretty crucial in some of these situations.
I'm just the doctor. I don't prescribe how you use it.
I've seen that ruin plenty of planets.
Like Maku, as you rightfully pointed out, you've got some skills. We need them. We need
Yeah, what
you
if we
at
need to
like
tase another
maximum
bug?
capacity.
I don't want to tase another bug. It was an accident. I forgot to take him off of the fence.
No,
It's-
but this ship has like sensors and stuff that you could actually help. Like the last couple ships we've been on, you've helped us a lot, and we didn't even have that much equipment you could help us with.
Oh, that is true.
The ship is also 300 years old.
Oh, I've played with lots of different ships. They let me play with all the parts of the Seven ship so I could learn all the pieces.
So, okay, plan is we go to sleep, because holy shit, it's been a long time.
It's been a long night.
Part 2. Overnight, we keep an eye on the sensors.
Yeah.
And then when we arrive, we out. And then...
I mean, we see what it is and kind of make our
I
decision.
have
Yeah.
an idea. I could probably set my robot to like wake us up if anything happens, so that you
Ooh.
could get some sleep.
We also have Percival.
And
Oh, yeah.
Percival could wake us up.
Who's currently like frozen in time because he's somewhere else in the ship doing something, but he's there.
Peapod.
He doesn't appear.
Percival.
Yes.
Can you, I think we're all going to try to hunker down. It's been a hell of a night. Maybe it's not wise, but we don't think we're going to take a watch. So, like, if something starts screaming at us out of the dark abyss, you can wake us up if you don't mind.
I absolutely can do so, yes. Each of the individual crew quarters is wired to alarms that can be triggered under specific circumstances.
Alright.
If this is in relation to the anomaly in the drift ahead, I can set an alarm to prepare us all just before, if you so desire.
That is extremely prudent. I think that's exactly what we got to do.
The crew quarters are like separated.
Yes. Yeah, picture it like a donut almost, with 3 doors on one side and 3 doors on the other, and a pair of airlocks. 3 chambers that are all completely identical.
Okay.
Well, sleep sounds good to me.
So as you do retire, unless you have something to say there.
I do have one more.
Okay, of course.
Before we go, can I see that glowing ball of
Yeah.
rain?
You're not allowed
It's
to
not-
eat it.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to try
that's
to get
forbidden.
it.
Yeah. It's not brain matter so much as, well, and I'll pull it out and let him take a look.
Can I'm gonna scan it with my micro lab.
Certainly. Please give me a, we'll call it a life sciences check, please.
Yeah, I can do life or physical.
It's up to you.
All right, I'll do life.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one question I'm going to have right now.
Okay.
If I'm assuming we're going to go with it, I can always treat that as a 20
Sure, yeah, given time.
plus my modifier.
Yep.
All right, so that's a 20. That's a 30.
Certainly. So, scanning this info sphere, you learn a couple of things about it. One, it appears to be almost like a line of code or DNA, in a sense, that is cyclical. It's repeating itself over and over and over and over again, despite the fact that if this were like DNA, there'd be a whole person in here. It's a lot of data is stored inside this infosphere, but it doesn't appear to be going anywhere. It is just on an infinite loop with itself, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
it also appears. It appears as if this is placed in a sort of proper receptacle of some kind, it could be understood. But there's nothing on board this ship that can allow you to do so. And if you recall back to the previous days, it used to maybe require a slug slurping out goo to make sense of it. But there might be a more mechanical way to do so.
Right.
But the ship has nothing like that on board.
All right.
But you just don't have the password. You don't have the code. You don't have the sequence key. Whatever you need, you don't have.
So it's a thing of DNA in like a Mobius strip.
Yeah, essentially.
Cool. Okay.
That might be a thought.
Yep.
In and of itself.
Do you want to scan one of these ones too? Can I give him one of the gray ones to scan?
Absolutely, yeah. So taking some time, because taking a 20 takes quite a while. You do that process. It appears to be the exact same thing, but inert. This thought has been lost. It has been forgotten. That person has drifted, or that thought has drifted into the ether. It's not concise. It's not readable, or will ever be readable. Or at least this purple one clearly has some life to it still.
So we have like a living thought and a forgotten thought.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
Cool. I relay this to whoever's still around after 40 minutes.
I'm waiting for this because I'm keeping the sphere in my possession.
Tapping your fingers for 20 minutes. Come on.
No, well, I'm also curious too. Like, but yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Very cool.
So then, retiring to individual chambers, those of you who are, I'm curious to know, specifically those of you who don't need sleep, are you picking a chamber to sort of call your own? Yeah. So I do have a question for everybody to think about. How are you going to start to dress up your individual chambers? I imagine there's going to be some pretty wide variety of personality between each of you. So as you sort of have these well-appointed single bunk with their own private bathrooms and little, not quite kitchenettes, but counters that you could store some minor snacks in, that are a blank canvas for each of you to have for yourselves, how does your character, when you sort of step through that threshold, envision your potential chamber being in the future, once you have a little bit of time to let your odors seep in?
I know the first thing that Maku's going to do is find like some sort of scrap or something that he can shove into the door so that it doesn't close. Just fixing it open.
Sure.
And then, does our bunks have like posts?
No, so they're built into the wall.
They're built into the wall.
Yeah, there's a storage door underneath each
Is
of
there
them.
anywhere that I could like make the blanket into a hammock?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he's gonna take the blanket on it and just kind of like plop it up so it makes like a little cozy hammock, and then probably go down and get his big giant lock and like shove it somewhere in the room.
So it's already chaos.
Yeah.
Perfect. I absolutely love it. Thurga, what are you doing in your room, if anything?
Can the bed be forcefully removed from the wall?
Yeah, I'm-
forcefully.
Well, I mean, anything with enough force.
I'm gonna take up, the first thing I'm going to do is take up Neville's offer, which is go
Yeah.
remove the bed from whatever they've claimed.
Certainly, yeah. So
Chisel it off.
you can see that with tools, it might be doable easier, but right now, time might be of the essence. If one of you could please give me an athletics check, and if the other one wants to help, you need to do another athletic check of an easier DC to give the primary person a +2,
Okay.
because we don't do advantage in this game.
I'll probably do the primary one because I just go into my
Okay.
room and immediately start if you want to help.
I'll help, yeah. Nat 20 to help for 28.
Beautiful.
Oh, geez. 18.
18. So as you are in the process of like
Without the
reefing
help.
on this bed, well, he did come to help. So as you're sort of reefing on the bed as best you can see it's sort of wiggling. You can see the bolts are shifting. It's almost like a IKEA sort of locking stuff. It's starting to move. You don't quite enough oomph to get it done until Thurgood comes in to take you up on the offer of potentially having a bed, and with really just a pair of hands,
Yeah.
pulls the whole thing off. But you can say with certainty you loosened it for him.
Mm-hmm.
At the very
I'm
least.
keeping the pillow and the blanket though.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
I'm gonna peek around and be like, you guys could have just asked for my rent.
This is pretty quick.
It was reasonably quick, and anyone else who's nearby can watch as Thurgood walks by with an entire bed.
Yeah. Well, I have to like push it. I mean, there's so little space in the hallways already. I'm probably like pushing it in me, so I shunt into my bed, push the two beds together, yada yada.
There you go.
And yeah, setting up the room, I starts taking stuff out of my tech bag, what little survived from the Myoposis. Of the crap that I sling, I have kept a few of the more useful items.
Sure.
So like a little grooming kit, maybe.
Okay.
It's like a little like notepad. Yeah. And then he probably also has like his little sentimental corner or whatever. And he does set up a little picture frame.
Nice. Cool. Doc.
Rat's nest comes to mind.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna at some point ask for help to get rid of the bed,
Sure.
and turn that into a big flat desk
Okay.
space, for like science.
For science.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then just underneath it would be the pile of blankets and pillows. And all that kind of
Certainly,
stuff.
yeah. So I imagine with either Maku's help or the combined muscle of these two, that's easily enough to accomplish. Get this bed sort of.
Or like re-welded further up.
Sure.
Like table height.
Yeah, that'll require a bit of help from Maku, I'm sure, but
I have a
that'll be
question.
easy
Does it
enough
like
to do.
stand in because Doc is very put together? Is this like contrast to that? Like.
Yep.
Okay.
like you know when you see like the professor walks into the room
Yes.
and you're like, oh yeah, this is a super well put together person, and like I'm sure if I go into their office to ask for help, it's gonna be this immaculate. And you walk in and it's just papers,
Order. A leaning tower.
stuff everywhere, boxes tipping over, and you're like, oh god, what's happened?
Yeah, there's a stack of dissertations with a pizza
But
box.
they
in
know
the
where
other.
everything is.
Exactly.
That's my desk.
Yeah.
That's this desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it'll become. It'll become one of those like crammed full of like drawers of this is this from this planet, this is a sample of this from here, this does this if you mix it with this, that kind of
So
stuff.
that process has started.
Yeah, little like board of lines leading from like, okay, if I can take this and do this and this does this to this person.
So in just a span of a couple hours, it's already started
Yep.
to occur. So who knows what it'll be like in years'
Yeah,
time.
like a little hand scratch picture of like the little wheelie football we met earlier.
Yeah, Tash.
Tash, and like a note on what he is, and
Yeah.
gave him this, and this happened.
Fantastic. Okay.
That's
okay.
amazing.
So we'll leave it at that. CV2. Anything to do to a room if you're claiming one at all?
Yeah, I will take a room. Androids do need to sleep, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
the
yeah,
CR
you power
SROs do
down.
too.
I need
Yeah.
to sleep and eat, but I don't need to breathe.
It's got like the least convenient part.
Yeah, I
of
know.
3 things.
Anyway, after dressing it up, it wouldn't look all that different. It would be like a paint job, I guess, would be the
Okay.
only thing. So there's like a nice red bed cover, but everything's like absolutely perfect. It looks very Spartan and austere, and the only like additional thing in the room is like a tiny little statue, like 7 or 8 inches tall, of Serenre, just sitting on one corner of the desk, and there's a tiny little, like one of those little votive candle things, and it's just lit with this tiny little flame right above it, and that's it. And that flame is just always going.
So the cool thing is, in a room that's that austere, that statue would actually sort of dominate everything, even though
Yeah.
it's pretty small.
Yeah. Sorry, there is one other thing.
Okay.
It looks like an abacus, but it's like 3-dimensional.
Hell yeah.
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 So it's big,
Yeah.
but it's very simple looking. There's no color on it. It's just little metal beads on little wires, and some of them go up and down, but they like stay in fixed position in a horizontal thing, and it's some kind of very fancy stellar calculator.
I love it.
Yeah, and you guys have no idea how it works.
I don't even know.
And
how
I
it
can't
works.
I can't even explain to anybody how it works. It's just I do this for doing stellar calculations.
I love it. I truly do love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So her room would be pretty austere. So kind of like takes off her jacket, hangs it up in the closet. Not a lot left out. But she would find somewhere to kind of jab one of her knives in the wall to hang her gauntlets from, so that they are visible in the room. And yeah, that's pretty much it. She's very minimalistic. Keeps her backpack like stashed out of the way.
Yep.
Clean surfaces.
Jeez, just ready to go.
Yeah.
As I think we're all starting to expect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Nival.
So people talk about how empty their room is. Nival's room is literally empty.
No
She
bed
doesn't have
anymore.
anything in it at
The
all.
bed's gone even.
But I think what would end up happening over time is if you're facing in, I picture the room's kind of being long because you'd have a bed, almost like a prison, like a
yeah.
cell. But for her, the far length, you'd have a gap, and then her armor kind of wall mounted, and then her sword wall mounted. And when she goes to sleep, she'd just stand in the middle, like facing the doorway. Everything else would be absolutely empty and blank on purpose, except for over time you would start to see like marks and dings where she's probably swinging a sword in a much too small room, hitting the roof and the sides and the lights and stuff. But other than that, nope, just her, armor, sword. That's it.
Fantastic.
And she would sleep like standing up anyway. She just kind of stands.
Dead
Like-
center.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't like it, like a horse. So, as you all go to sort of bed for the night as best you can successfully enough get a rest because you are well over a day from wherever this anomaly might be. Now, for Starfinder stuff, we don't just get a long rest like we're all accustomed to from other games we play. Those of you who are injured heal much slower in this game than you do in other familiar tabletop RPGs. Is anyone actually hurt? So the two of you took some damage.
I have a little bit of stamina gone, but I think that
So
That
stamina
refreshes.
thankfully comes back,
back,
right
yeah.
away.
As do resolve points.
As
Oh,
do
resolve
points.
points
You get
too?
half of them back, I'm pretty sure. Let's find out.
So like if you have 4, you would get 2 back.
Mhm.
Okay.
You do heal back 1 hit point per character level per day of rest, per 8 hours of rest. You could probably get 24 hours worth of rest here if you wanted to, but that would require the next 24 hours of you to be sequestered in your room, relaxing, getting back 2 hit points per day, or per level, sorry, if you so desired.
Resolve points are all of them.
Fantastic. Okay. So, just for the two of you who are actually injured, how long, like, are you going to rest for 8 hours and just get back 1 hit point per character level? Or 24 hours and get back 2?
I'm gonna just do 8.
I'm just gonna do 8 as well.
Okay, perfect. So as you all sort of retire to your rooms and spend a couple of hours in combination resting and preparing your rooms to sort of be in a way you desire, whether it be completely Spartan and empty or completely insane and chaotic or somewheres in between for the two of you, rest eventually does find each of you. You know you have about a day's travel before you get to this anomaly, and Percival is hopefully going to actually use this alarm to let you know when you're near about to this anomaly. This is the point where we're going to take a quick break because we're about 2 hours into the session, and we'll see what happens when we pop out. And for everybody else, we'll be back in about 15 minutes' time. If you need to pee, grab a drink, grab water, or whatever you got to do, now is the time, and we'll be back very shortly. Welcome back, everybody. We're back from our break, successfully peed and drank things, and preparing for whatever anomaly is about to occur. I hope everybody's enjoying what's going on so far. I know we certainly are. And let's see how the second half of this episode goes. Hopefully well. As all of you are getting your rest inside your specific crew quarters, CV2, the one who is one with everything, or trying your best to, you are the first to feel, especially given your lack of need for real sleep, a distinct vibration in the ship that is above and beyond the normal hum and drum of drift travel. By your internal clock, you're pretty close to when you'll be nearing this anomaly, but you're feeling something is off for sure, and only you thus far.
So no alarms are going off, and
Not as of yet.
Percival's not freaking out.
He is not,
Everybody else is asleep, presumably.
with the exception of Nival,
No.
presumably.
All right. I will step out of my room.
You see Maku's door is wide open.
Yep. Does anything feel different outside of my quarters, or it just
Not
more of
really.
the
It's
same?
sort of like a slightly achy knee when the rain is coming, sort of thing.
Okay. Percival,
Appears above well, near the table in the center of the room. Yes.
has anything changed on the sensors in the last 15 minutes?
Allow me to check. He sort of disappears for a second, reappears just a moment later. No, we are still nearing the anomaly, but we are several hours away. I was allowing everyone to sleep for a time still.
Several hours away. I'm going to go to the sensors room. Can you please wake the others?
Certainly, I will do so. And as you go down the main elevator, one by one, in your rooms, you're probably the first to notice as Percival sort of appears, sort of emerging from a little aperture in the wall, just on the inside of your door. He's sort of just hovering in free space, and calls everybody to awake. Weirdly, he calls each individual person by name, but with the same rest of the message. So you'll hear Nival, Shriver, Thurgood, Rolana, Maku. CV2 has asked me to awaken each and every one of you. Something is stirring him. in the interim, as you all sort of piece that together, CV2, you make it to the sensor's chamber, and you can sure enough see sort of the indicator that is the Gant and this anomaly are not touching yet. You're still a ways away.
Okay.
You're unsure exactly why it's unsettling you.
Could I do like a physical science check on the anomaly? Anything?
So unfortunately, with sensors, the only thing you can do is a computer use check.
I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I
so-
just said, oh man, this looks the same.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna get on the comms and just tell everybody something doesn't feel right. I don't know if it was something from my meditation or something about the ship feels off, and I can't tell what it is.
Did you eat some bad paste?
I didn't eat any paste.
Oh,
Maybe that's the problem.
yeah. I have nightmares when I go to bed on an empty stomach.
Maku, bring me some snack.
Yep.
And come see if you can press some buttons and figure out what's going on down here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'll head to the bridge and take a look at.
Certainly. So as you head to the bridge, Maku goes to the galley to grab some food for CV2. The three of you, where are you up to, if anywheres?
I'll probably head up to the bridge too.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to weapons, not because I'm concerned, but just because I'm realizing now that it would be prudent to familiarize myself with the space.
Certainly. Doc?
I'm taking 5 more minutes.
News.
I whipped my pillow at the little light sensor that he was coming out of.
Certainly. He sort of appears through it and pillow falls and he just stares there blankly because he's a
I'm just gonna
hologram.
yell snooze.
Certainly. Turns off the lights dim.
Perfect.
You take a few more minutes.
Nice.
Unfortunately, perhaps to interrupt you just a moment later and not getting you your full 5 minutes, as soon as you get to the bridge and sort of sit behind the captain's console, when you get to the weapons chamber, when the rest of you find mush to bring to CV2 and you get to the bridge as well, the ship lurches into existence, if that makes sense. You're familiar with it. You're dropping it of the drift. And earlier than you really should, by all accounts. The ship immediately begins to sort of rattle pretty violently as it slows down, hitting real space, essentially. And through the two of you being the only ones on the bridge, looking through the impressive sort of widescreen display, you immediately see what has sort of pulled you out of the drift, as it were. The Gant is about to crash into a giant globule of water, it seems, or at least some sort of semi-transparent liquid. And at the sort of speed and inertia that it's still carrying, with no one behind the pilot seat, as it were, there's absolutely nothing you're going to be able to do to stop this. At the very least, you can sort of key into your comm and maybe get a bit of a warning out, but before you really have too much time to react, the Gant slams, gets enveloped by this globule of water that is 5 or 6 times larger than the Gant. In space, size is really relative, it would seem, because all of you inside this ship definitely feel this weird sort of vibrating noise as something outside the ship has gone potentially horribly wrong. At the very least, things have changed, and the two of you are the only ones who are currently aware that the ship is functionally underwater. What do the two of you do?
Through the comms, Doc, we likely need you in the I guess it would be the sensor room for science officer stuff.
Yep.
We've flown into something that I've never seen before.
What's going on out there? Did we take a hit?
We took a bath.
Wait,
What?
We seem to be underwater.
I'm not taking a
I thought
bath.
we were in
What
space.
the hell
We are in space.
Shouldn't it be frozen?
You need a pilot up there? What's going on? I'm gonna squeeze into an elevator.
Here's your snack.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just mush this paste into your face. Do you taste anything?
I don't know.
Do you have taste buds?
Presumably.
Well, it doesn't taste very good, to say the least.
It's
You
sustenance.
wish you didn't.
So as you get to your respective places that you're going, be they in the sensors room, in the pilot's chair as you're heading to, where are you headed? Bridge still. You guys are down in sensor chamber still. Doc, being the last one to sort of rise from your slumber, you stumble into the sensors chamber to find two of your compatriots staring at a massive array of screens. And you can definitely distinctly see that there's a couple of things out of place, but without diving into it, you're not going to be able to really figure out too much. Could you please give me a computer use check?
Can I, because I just told him I want you to use the sensors to
Yep.
identify this, can I roll, I think it's encourage to give him a bonus?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Starship rules.
You can do it.
Let's do Starship.
So it's a
Starship
+2
stuff.
bonus. Nope.
Nope.
Nope, that was a 1.
You idiot!
So
You
there's
can
a-
do this.
there's
So
a-
you take a -1 penalty.
You're
Because
still
Oh,
half
yeah.
asleep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Basically, it's two people trying to control the mouse at the same time.
Yeah. I'm doing computer.
Yes, please.
All right. Oh.
Oh God.
Oh. That would be a 10-9 then.
Oh, no. So, unfortunately, all you've managed to see through your sensors, it seems as if this giant globule of some liquid that you are in, which probably isn't water, you're starting to really understand, is dampening your sensors in such a way that you cannot really see beyond the actual globule you're currently in.
I'm gonna get on the mic and say that this is a spaceship, not a submarine. So I don't know what this is. It's liquid.
Do you guys still need me here to push some buttons? Or...
Probably. Are we taking damage?
No.
No. Okay.
You can definitely hear the sounds of like pressure on the outside as whatever this globule is being held together by some force. You're certainly upsetting that balance, but not enough to damage the ship.
Percival, what's the pressure rating on this thing?
10,000 psi outside the ship.
What are we at right now?
What do you mean?
What's the current pressure rating?
Oh, it's 10,000 outside the ship right now, well
Okay.
within limits.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I up on the bridge?
Sure.
Yeah. What the? All right. Are we gonna try to fly out of this? Do we even know how deep we are in? Oh God. All right. Maku, can you look at the thrusters? I don't know if they're rated for
Yeah,
water.
I could go do that. Sure.
So you scurry on over into the engineering department and try to well, see if the thrusters even will work. And based on all the readouts you're finding in engineering, they'll absolutely turn on. They'll absolutely fire. How effective they'll be under liquid, who knows? But they'll certainly turn on.
Like, they'll turn on.
That is good
You
news.
just push the button and see what happens.
Were they on when we went into the liquid?
No.
No.
What if it's explosive?
We'll get it really quick.
Oh.
Doc, do you have like a rating for or a way to figure out what this is? This soup?
Doc, I can do the sensors if you want to go out and get the sample or something.
I mean, I don't really want to go out. I
Well, I
can't
mean-
think of a way where I open the door and this works well.
Would sensors tell us what this is if
That's
it
a
is
big
indeed
question.
water?
So with that roll you got, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How would that
Do you
roll?
want
All right.
Do you
Not so
want the
much.
hand? As
Sure, let's do this. Let's go to an airlock and go open it up and see
no,
what
I meant
happens.
to in the
No,
We're
sensors.
going this
Children.
I'm going. I like the idea.
You're gonna go to an
I'm
airlock.
gonna go to an airlock
Oh,
and
sure.
Yeah,
let's just cycle it. Like
it is a two-door thing,
yeah,
so you
cycle
can
it.
let's cycle it.
certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
So just sort of staring at this one airlock that has a window, you can see across the maybe 10-foot space the other sort of portcullis that has just this weird swirling liquid on the other side. With the press of a button, the outer airlock does slowly begin to creep open. And when it does, it's not a torrent of liquid that comes in, but a slow, almost gel-like, seeping ooze begins to flow into
I'll
the ship.
close it.
Yeah, so
like,
the door gets about
see
halfway
that it
open.
doesn't just like splash in.
Closes
So
in.
let's just cycle a little bit of it in.
Certainly. You end up with maybe a foot worth of this goo inside one of your airlocks.
Right on. I'm just gonna open the other side.
Open the other one. It sort of just flows.
Scoop it up.
Instantaneously, when it sort of you get anywhere near it, you can feel it's giving off an extreme amount of cold, like nearly painful, to the point that if you were to touch it, it would probably really, really hurt. Instantaneous frostburn sort of things. But you
Stick
have
the probe in.
the apparatus to be able to sort of to test it. If you can go ahead and give me either a life sciences or physical sciences, please.
That would still be a 30.
That's if you take a long time, right? Or can you just
Or is this different from
automatic?
taking
Let's
20?
find out, please.
Does it actually refer to like?
While he's doing that, can I do the sensors?
Okay, you can
Sure.
attempt this check as an untrained regardless of the DC, and you always treat the dice roll as a 20.
No, geez, he's busy.
It's a computer use check, right? 27.
Okay, so you learned between the two of you over the span of just a couple of minutes a couple of things. First and foremost, your ship. You're gonna have to hit this. This is going to be your ship for a long time. It's currently inside this globule. Inside this globule of what you're about to learn is not quite water. I am going to bring the camera down. Oh, look at that. It's not the greatest resolution, but it's there. So in this not quite water, when you scan it, you find that it is essentially like a jellified petroleum. This is essentially jet fuel.
Great.
For all intents and purposes, it's jet fuel that is drifting in space. Maku, with your spending a little bit of time sort of tweaking the sensors to be a little bit, maybe not finite, but at least paint a broader picture, you can see that there's a sort of field of these little ampules that stretch for many hundreds of kilometers in all direction, and you get a ping of sorts inside that little globule directly ahead of where you are. Reference to me right now, there is something metal inside that next closest globule, but unless you scan it specifically, you're not getting much other than a ping back.
Can I scan it specifically?
Can I do that thing you said?
Certainly. But now you've also learned that it's essentially jet fuel.
I'm going to let everybody know. That
Nat 20.
Beautiful. I will let you know that inside...
Is there another little ship in there?
there appears to be a broken down, largely destroyed, smaller spaceship than the Gant that is inside one of these globules of liquefied petroleum. A couple hundred kilometers in the distance, or miles in the distance. Really far away, but enough for you to ping it on the scans. I will also let you know with a roll like that, you've learned it was at least called the Infineon at some point. That's the name that registers from what you can get. And it's a medium-sized explorer ship. It's pretty small. About the same size as the Vanced, we'll say.
Okay.
Pretty close to. And Doc has information for everybody.
Yeah. Percival.
Yes.
What, or Maku even. If you fire off the engines, what is the engine?
Oh yeah, I just scanned it.
What is the engine going to? What does it do? What does the engine? Is it fire? Is it? How does the engine move?
I don't know. Let me check.
Certainly. So sort of checking in, it does indeed take some of the sort of fusion power that's of the power core and sort of vent it into space. It's certainly fire.
Okay.
It might cause it to explode.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we should turn on the engines right now because we're in some jet fuel that is jelly-like. So,
Well,
do we have any hoses to suck it up?
well, hold on. That might be a good idea. But also, basic rocketry. I know I'm the only licensed pilot here. There is no air in space. To burn, liquid fuel needs oxidizer. I don't know. I'm not saying we're 100% safe, but we might be safe-ish on a technicality.
Can I just add something?
Mm-hmm.
There's another ship that's like way up there that is not okay. That's stuck in the jelly. So either they blew up or the stuff like corroded their ship.
Oh boy.
So I think that maybe we should just not do that.
We're still not taking damage.
We also did just let some air out of our airlock into this.
Oh yeah, we
fuel.
farted into the void. Great, good job.
Only off to one side, not
Yeah,
right.
It's way up at the front here.
Well, Doc, if you don't mind doing a little more science, can you see if this thing can burn in a vacuum? Can you make like a little vacuum and try to, impart some...
Can we make a little vacuum
Absolutely.
chamber?
You have a couple airlocks. You could potentially damage an airlock and figure out what happens.
In Nibel, in your explorations of the ship, did you see any sort of like cargo cans or barrels or anything we could contain some of this stuff in? I mean, we might have another payday on our hands here if we can take some of this with us.
Can I say yes? I was going to do it, be like, well, yes, I did.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I should have just done it.
We
could empty out the honey.
We can empty out one cargo bay.
Yeah, like you said, the cargo bays have
Yeah.
like bulkhead type
They do.
doors. We
Yeah,
could
you
just
could just fill it with jet fuel. Yeah, absolutely.
Space
wanted
trucking.
to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's consider
Absolutely.
this. But the honey too. Is there somewhere in the kitchen or in the
Yeah.
galley we could empty the honey into? And
Well, the
use
honey's
that?
the honey's not in the cargo bay. It's in the
it's in the shuttle bay.
it's in the
Shuttle.
shuttle
Yeah.
bay. So if we
Just
just
move it. We do have a little forky lift.
we do have a little forky lift.
Would that be enough to make
Trying
that
to
a
fork
worthwhile
the
activity?
drop.
though?
No, I'm saying if we determine that this is safe enough to take 4 cargo bays worth of it on board, I think we should do so.
Yeah.
But this is a rather exotic material. We don't know what the hell
Yeah.
it is.
Let's
so
try and figure that out
science
first.
first.
Do you need
Science
any
first.
help doing the science stuff?
I think so.
Okay, I'll come down and help you.
Certainly. So you got a couple airlocks at your disposal.
All right.
I'm curious to know which one you're going to choose to maybe do this thing, or somewhere else in the ship, I suppose. You could absolutely try if you can MacGyver something.
Deck 3, front end cargo.
Certainly.
That airlock.
Okay.
Okay.
So the two of you meet at the bottommost and frontmost area of the ship, and this does have a pretty sizable cargo hold in it, or a pretty sizable airlock. Sorry, given that it's meant to have cargo go through it. With the same sort of press of a button, knowing how quick it's going to flow into the chamber, you can sort of time the door to get a near approximate exact amount of what you want. So you sort of beep boop, open and close the door. How much of this crazy petroleum jet fuel did you want to let into the chamber?
I don't think we need a lot. We need just like a
A little tiny bit.
a glob.
In that case, you could have potentially got some you already got.
Yeah, I think, let's just do that. Let's do that,
Sure.
and then we'll vacuum it out.
Okay, so opening from this side,
Yeah.
sort of pouring some in and closing it, you have this little tiny globule inside what you are now discovered to be a vacuum.
Yep.
How do you want to set it on fire?
Can you rig up something to fire off like a similar kind of thing to the engine plasma?
Yeah, I could
Let's
try.
do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
Certainly give me an engineering check,
couldn't be
please.
happier too.
28.
28. So, yeah, absolutely. You could essentially reroute some of the tubing and hosing inside this ship, given maybe an hour or so, to essentially make a spark plug of fusion power inside this frontmost airlock, if you so desire.
I think we desire.
Maybe we desire.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Done. It's ready to go. You're tested it. You're sure it's working. You tested it on this side of the bulkhead, and little plasma torch occurs. You find a way to get through essentially vents into the other chamber and ready to go. Assuming you are.
Do you want to push the button?
You can do it.
Oh!
Light it up.
Push the button.
The rest of you, over the hour, have you been up to anything at all?
Which airlock did you bring the goo in through?
I brought it in through probably deck 1, number 3.
Okay.
Well, because that's where like I would have
that was
been.
the
I would have
difference.
been.
So
I would have went up to the bridge and
would've,
over.
Been trying to clean up the goo that's all over the floor and might be flammable in the midst of our
Certainly.
living area.
Yeah, so you can find a couple of like receptacles and things to,
Yeah.
to put it in as best you can. It does certainly give off a real extreme cold. You imagine it's not going to fit into any of your various machinery in the galley if you wanted to try to mix it with the gray goo, but it is volatile to say the least. But you can easily enough clean it. The two of you then, unless anyone else has anything else they want to do, the two of you go ahead and press the button, trying to essentially create a bomb in space inside your ship. What could possibly go wrong? You press the button. As a little plasma torch sparks to life on the other side of the airlock, the two of you wait with bated breath, wondering, is it going to spontaneously combust? 10 seconds goes by. 30 seconds goes by. The little globule of liquefied jet fuel, it seems, or jellified jet fuel, is in the center of the airlock, doing nothing, it seems. 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes are just slowly ticking by, just burning.
Can you crank up the power on the?
Yeah. Can I try to get the spark thing so that it touches the?
Certainly, yeah. So sort of finagling the cable, trying to get
Under
this
this.
thing is
to turn up the.
snaking its way through as you're trying your best to constantly turn it up and wiggle it. Eventually, just by happenstance, the sort of like hose hits the jellified petroleum and immediately combusts. Just little flash fire, almost like those wax papers. And it disappears, leaving no residue whatsoever. You notice a spike in temperature on the other side of the wall. It is most certainly flammable.
Yeah.
Flammable.
Yeah. It's.
With or without oxygen?
Without.
without oxygen. Interesting.
That's feedback.
So we are screwed if we fire the engines in here.
How do we get out of here?
Can the drift engine? Does the drift engine run on the same type of technology?
No, I
It's
don't
not
think so.
thrust. No, it's like.
Because we got in here with the drift engine.
But it like pulled us out of the drift.
Can
Yeah,
we vent some stuff that just pushes us out?
This is another silly nitty gritty sci-fi question.
Yep.
Rolling, is
Yes.
that done with like a reaction control system, or is that done with?
It's probably RCS. Yes.
It's probably RCS. So we could safely do that without creating flame.
There's only one way to find out. And before we do that, I want to say Heathen Cantina has redeemed a posture check. So everybody make sure you're sitting up straight because someone cares about us.
Delightful.
Thank
Tuck your shoulders.
I refuse. We've been
Very well.
deeper.
Why, thank you.
That is a rude check on there.
My foot was falling asleep. It was
Too
easy.
real for me.
All right, I
Who
can
are you,
try
HR?
to. So we shouldn't take on several tons of this, several
We can.
thousands of liters of
Just
this.
don't catch it on fire.
Yeah, but we don't have an airlock between the cargo bay and the rest of the ship. We would be literally taking on a bomb.
What if we just fill up all the airlocks except for one?
No, it's a good idea on paper. In reality, it means we
Can
can't
we
use
just
our
take a
airlocks.
little bit? Because
We got a little bit.
We do have a little bit. We have a
We
foot of airlock depth.
Is there
up on-
any
up on
like?
the
Cleaned it
crew
up and put
quarters.
it in containers. Well, you guys are
Just
doing
buy a
all
bunch of
this.
mop
Yeah.
buckets.
Crew sitting there with a bunch of mop buckets, basically. Filled with jet fuel.
Okay.
Don't confuse the honey.
Well,
Worst
they
sandwich
smell
ever.
very different.
Back to the idea of what if we open an airlock and it moves us?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
We get
Oh.
that we vent out the air and it
Like
goes.
pressurized.
Did we move it all when you opened the airlock before?
Well, I opened up a little, like one of the little side ones.
Not even a little bit. Oh boy.
Yeah,
But we
I
have
mean,
we have the front airlock on deck 3 and the full cargo bay of air.
okay, is that airlock still functional?
Yeah, I mean, it,
Okay.
it was a little glob.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the ship have any like projectile things that would like I'm almost thinking of like one of those whale poacher things. But like
Like a
something
harpoon?
something that wouldn't be explosive
Mm.
but might give us a
The only weapon you have on board your ship is an energy weapon that shoots highly energized particles of
That's not gonna work.
probably hot
That's not gonna work.
energy.
All right. I can try to roll us out of that and see if we can somehow build up some sideways
That would be
momentum.
cool.
Should we like power up the shields so that they're?
They're
Shields are
presumed powered.
presumed powered.
No, I know, but like if we activate, whatever that is, where it doubles the shield,
Energize.
energize the shields, just in case.
Boy, that also seems like a lot of energy.
Oh,
going
that's
into
my
this.
job, isn't it? Yeah, I can go do that.
Well, let's figure out if we want to do this first.
Doc has an idea.
I think it
Oh,
costs
nice
like
idea.
3
What's Doc's idea?
power per unit.
We
We're
could fill
frozen.
up
Yeah.
the cargo hold
Okay.
With
with the liquid,
Gel.
and then open up the front
Jet
cargo
fuel.
and repressurize.
just
And that would give us
quite
essentially
a
a
bit of,
jet motor, like a liquid motor,
right.
Try to fix
to
it.
push us backwards.
But if it's the same substance, wouldn't it just kind of go together?
But if we're repressurizing the cargo hold from
He's
the
saying
back,
what Doc is saying
Oh, like
in
the
effect
pressure and it goes.
is that we turn our life support system into a propulsion system.
Yep.
Right.
two of us don't need two people here don't need air.
I love air
Well, I do
personally.
too.
Big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have ways to breathe without it in the ship, but
Not permanently.
how big is this jelly blob that we're like this jet fuel blob that we're in? Like, is it
It's
going to make
3
enough of a difference?
We
It's
don't
about
know.
3 times as big as our ship.
Huh. So we
Okay.
gotta move 3 ship lengths, give or take.
Have we tried contacting that other ship?
It's exploded. Like I could try.
Exploded.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come in, you get absolutely nothing whatsoever.
It looked like it was in pieces. Its name is Infineon, though.
Infineon?
It's Maku's favorite kind of ship, salvage material.
We could
thought
go
you just
there
dropped a
and we
dice
could
and I was like-
get cool stuff. Or if there's somebody that's still alive on it, We could go.
I mean,
save
I
them.
am curious about it. Not gonna lie, but we just need a reliable way.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Okay.
somehow.
Oh,
I'll check.
We need a
doesn't
reliable
look
way
loose,
of
but-
It looks okay.
moving through
You're
this
not, like-
before we try to
Yeah,
enter
to
a
get it
different
wiggled.
Wiggly wiggly.
level. Yeah.
Hey, oh, there we go.
It's coming back.
It's coming back,
It's coming
everybody.
back.
Hey.
Oh, too
Oh,
much.
no.
Too much.
Oh.
Hide me. Hide my face.
Let's just do a quick stopgap and fix this stuff.
don't look behind the curtain.
Like
No,
nothing
pay
at
no
all.
attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like nothing at all.
Send it on a lower layer. There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
15 years ago, Cameron is still blown away by the level of technology that we have. my brain's just exploding that you just moved that across the screen and readjusted. Like, that
In
is
real
just,
time?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's this weird combination of like only because of the technology do we have these issues,
Yep.
but only because of the technology can we fix them so quickly. Good times.
The robot chicken and the egg.
Yep.
Okay.
Um,
So I don't hate Doc's idea, but I mean, the assumption is that we will never run out of oxygen. Again, how nitty gritty is the?
We're not that nitty gritty.
We are not
You
that
will
nitty.
never run out of oxygen unless, for plot purposes, the life support system breaks.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So we just kind of fart our way through space. I think that's probably.
Well, we're not farting our way through space. We're not venting the
we are
air.
aerating a fine wine.
We're filling it. We're filling a chamber back up with air, forcing the fluid air.
I have
Someone
an
want to
idea.
explain to me what a fart is?
Oh, it's when
Dragon's
your
gonna try to fart.
when your
Just
body your body
quick.
has like air inside of it and it comes out your butt.
They're good. Give me an athletics check, please.
Yes, I'm so good at this. 22.
There is a ripping, ground shaking, just horrendous fart.
That's the 228. All right.
28. That sounds right.
Oh man.
Those of you with noses probably stinks.
Sorry, pals.
Can smell it on the 3rd floor.
Illustrating a point.
oh, because we were drift traveling, our thrusters were none when we fell
Correct.
into
Yeah,
the spot.
you
Okay,
leave
yeah.
the drift and get momentum, and you'd had literally seconds to maybe even potentially
Yeah.
avoid this thing, but no one was at the helm. It would just boom.
In my training, was there anything about like sort of what to do when you're becalmed in this way in movement without thrusters? Is there any protocol?
RCS is certainly an option. Your control thrusters
Mhm.
could potentially do it.
CS stand for?
Remote reactive control system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Do you have
it's
like little
nitty-gritty.
flabby things that we could
It's
just
how
Kind
space
of.
shuttles like
Right,
twist.
okay.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a
what's
combination
the-
of gyroscopes and
Right.
non-combustible propulsion.
Okay, so just like blasting little jets of air.
Pretty much, yeah.
Essentially.
Gotcha.
That sounds
I
like
like
a
the
good
fart idea.
Mm.
I do.
The wet fart.
We don't even have to. We don't have to lose any oxygen. We can just pump it into the rest of the ship,
Yep.
and everywhere else would be a little more pressurized. And then as the pressure equalizes, we push everything out.
That's a good idea.
Do that a few times, like a bellows.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's-
like a
that's
diamond.
what I'm looking
All right,
for,
project
So letting it
bellows.
out the front of the cargo bay.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
front one.
yeah.
So we're gonna back up the way
Yeah.
we came.
Yeah, put on our reversing lights and
Yep.
go down.
Beep, beep.
All right. Well, I'm game to pilot this little excursion if that's how we want to go.
Sure. If you want to try.
It's gonna kill.
I don't have any
TPK.
other ideas.
Thanks for coming out, everybody.
We
Show's
can't
over.
turn the thrusters on. Like we can't turn our engines on.
There's a
So
beholder in
All right.
Okay, so then at the helm, jamming yourselves into that seat in the front.
So worrying.
Well, I'm curious to know, even though you're at the helm, you're not actually controlling the ship, because really, if anything, it's you and the captain's, or potentially you in
I'm not
engineering,
doing anything.
Can
though.
pressing the button to open things.
what kind of like atmospheric controls does this ship have?
Very little. Just keeps it at status quo.
Mhm.
Essentially, you can close doors and eventually.
No, it's like I mean,
vacuum
like for
things.
like if like flying into a planet,
Mhm.
like does it has like little like wings or like
yeah, so
little
this is one of those
ailerons?
hand wavium things we do
Yeah.
in the thing where spaceships of this size can't hover. They sort of just build inertia and then crash,
Right.
but on landing gear. So you don't have really much of any.
Okay, so you don't have any kind of like attitude control or anything like that.
Mm.
Okay,
Only small ships would have that, but this is a great big giant freighter,
gotcha.
essentially. So, The plan is open the front of the ship and push a bunch of air out and hope you go backwards.
Push
Correct?
a bunch
No.
of liquid out. We're gonna
He wants to.
The idea is we're
Yeah.
using it as.
I
sort
may
of
have been
like
trying
a-
to fix cameras, so I might have missed
Yeah.
some of that. So,
I don't. Okay. Let me get into that airlock first.
or
Yeah.
we're sucking it into the cargo hold.
So you're
Opening
bringing
the
it in
front
the side
airlock.
airlocks and then diverting it at the front
Yeah,
airlock.
and then
Yeah.
close those, and then pump those airlocks or pump the cargo hold full of air again.
Can
Yeah.
you just test your specimen in terms of like the vapors and stuff? Like, how are we moving this mass quantity around?
With air pressure.
With air pressure, we're essentially the rest of the ship. It builds up pressure, and then as we force out the mass of the liquid that we've taken into the cargo hold. This is lunacy.
Yeah. We're pressurizing the ship like a balloon.
Yeah.
filling,
We're-
it,
this is
filling it with
fantastic.
explosives.
Yeah, I get to do like a full Star Trek monologue. Here. This is
Dude.
great. We're pressurizing
Reverse
it like
the
a
polarity
balloon,
of the-
and then we're deflating the balloon and using it to push the air into the cargo hold to very quickly push the liquid jet fuel stuff back out.
Can't
So
we
we're
just
filling
do-
all 4 cargo bays full then. First.
completely
Yeah.
full of this very flammable
Thurgood's
liquid. Yeah.
excited for this. plan.
Yes.
Can't we
Do
do
we-
this with just air?
What the little one said?
I
Can't
don't
we
know.
just pressurize the
I
rooms,
have
open the doors, and have the pressure of the air go out?
I have breathing problems. I
I
don't know
think
if
that
I
would
can
work
breathe like
in s-
above
if we
1
were in
atmosphere.
space, right? If we were in space, I think
I
that would
suppose it
work.
would just like bloop,
Bloop
into
out,
It. Got
yeah.
You. Yes. Okay. I'm not a scientist.
Okay, there are vents that come down into this cargo area, like
Oh,
including
yeah.
vents
Hey.
between the drift engine and
They,
cargo.
they can be
Hey.
shielded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Yeah, Maku, do you want to just sort of babysit all of the
Yeah, I
holes?
can do that.
I can make it work.
Okay.
Make it happen.
Certainly. So just spending a little bit of time, because you have plenty of it, because you're stuck
Yeah,
in gel, you essentially seal off the cargo hold as best you can. It does have a bunch of reinforced bulkheads that can be air, water, or in this case, jet fuel tight. And the entire lower deck of the ship is ready to be filled with explosive liquid and vented out at a moment's notice.
I am gonna try. I do want to try one thing before we do this.
Of course.
I want to take a little bit of it and put
Yep.
it into kind of do the opposite.
Mhm.
I want to start pressurizing
Okay,
a
good.
small chamber
Sure.
See how it
with
reacts
like a
under
tiny,
pressure.
tiny bit of
Mhm.
it, just to see
What happens
if
to
we
it?
get to a high pressure,
Yep.
what that
What
pressure
happens when
is.
it
Like,
warms
what's
That
the
might
number?
also combust.
Yeah,
Certainly.
what the number is.
It doesn't combust, but after a little bit of time, this tiny little globule of liquefied jet fuel, as the pressure increases, it expands ever so slightly.
Oh, this works too.
So you probably can't fill it all the way to the brim without potentially busting the ship open. But it doesn't expand to 3,000 times its size, just a couple of percentage points.
Okay.
So
But it doesn't light up.
it does not explode.
All right.
P-Man, Peabody, Percival.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you sort of minimize power to the cargo bay? No lights, no nothing, no anything really, no temperature control, just cold steel.
Done.
Thank you.
And how fast can you pressurize the cargo bay?
The power core is substantial, and if I redirect some energy, perhaps from weapons, navigations, or sensors, very quickly.
Do that.
If we lose the third deck of our ship, we lose our drift engine.
But we're not going to lose the deck of our ship.
Okay.
We'll lose the whole ship. If this blows up, we're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
It'll be over quick, as opposed to getting cooked from the outside in.
Oh, great.
So-
Yeah.
I am prepared to open the cargo hold.
I'm prepared for you to open the
Who's
cargo.
captaining here?
The person who's
got
not,
the- yeah,
who's not
who's got the
independent.
final say
Who's
here.
still
I'm
not
sorry,
really
Ruth,
on board
this is
here.
just kind of how it's gotta be. Are there any checks
Our
actually?
shields.
Yep.
What kind of resistance? Do they provide resistance to anything, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Just generally speaking, yeah. So like shields provide resistance to any energy weapons, projectile weapons. So heat is presumed within.
Fire.
So will that mean that it's gonna bounce off and just stay within our boat?
I have no idea.
We're
Let's
gonna find out.
Well, no
We're
shields up. Like,
Gotta find out.
No, our shields are up right now.
Yep. They currently
They're
are.
powered. They're not energized.
is the fluid just passing through our shields? then?
It is.
Okay.
No, I energized them, didn't I?
No, we didn't do that.
I would,
'Cause
I
we
would
weren't
advise
taking
that.
Yeah,
damage.
I'm going to say don't do that.
No, we need our power
Yeah.
for other things.
If they energize, they might be. Are they
Potentially.
like? What is the breakdown of shield? Just magic.
Hand wave you.
Okay.
They're shields
They're shields. Okay.
in a spaceship.
Magic exists.
Yep.
Cool.
Alrighty. You ready to press the button? El Capitan?
Are there any other opinions on the table here? This really is not seeming like the best idea to me.
Rolling is not gonna get us anywhere. I
Well-
don't think.
I think we should probably get out because I don't think it's good to just sit in jet fuel.
I think it would just turn
I
us
mean,
in
we're
a
not
circle.
taking damage from it. I'm not saying we're going to sit here forever, but I'm saying we have time to consider our options. No damage is
You
happening.
can try turning on the engines.
No, I didn't say that either. But
Well, that is another option, but no, we're not gonna go with that. So one option is, be like a squid and jet water or fluid out of. Yes, we would be like a squid.
that's yeah.
Highly explosive squid.
Highly explosive squid. Pretty.
You're
cool.
thinking the roll's not going to get us anywhere?
Everyone want to hang on really quickly as I roll?
Well, you don't even need to check for that. Just using the RCS thrusters to even move the ship. It would take you, by quick napkin math, about 3 weeks to get out of this globule at the current pace you're going. Because it's like,
Okay. So this is not a feasible option.
I mean, you have enough food.
We're not
you
gonna
have
die.
No.
unlimited food and don't need to sleep. But if you wanted to spend like 3 weeks slowly farting your way backwards, or forwards, or sideways, you could.
With the shields.
Yep.
If we turn, do we have control over like the
No.
side? No, so it's just kind of like it's an inch off the outside of the hull.
Yes.
Okay.
The drift end. So it shut off.
Yeah,
dro-
it needs
us
to
out?
spend a day recharging, no matter what.
But we had to use our thrusters to get into drift travel, right? No?
Nope.
It's a completely different system.
Completely different
Okay.
system. Yeah, that's
But-
why a lot of ships,
We
most
got
ships, in
knocked
fact,
out by this stuff.
don't
though.
have a drift.
Yeah, like this stuff knocked us out of the drift.
Mhm.
So it essentially crosses some sort of like.
Yeah, so the drift
Sorry,
above
I'm
table,
not-
okay, of course,
yeah.
above table, the drift is a real place. It's,
Yeah.
Think of it like a plane of existence by all of our, the nomenclature we all know. So it is a physical place that has physical things in it. There could be perhaps some sort of like built-in safety measure that tried to stop the ship from slamming into it at light speed, and instead you slammed into it at really fucking fast speed and got stuck in a globule. Yes, so the drift is a place, and it seems as if perhaps your 300-year-old sensors were slightly off of when you'd land here.
So we're still in the drift, but just not traveling
Yes.
at drift speed. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now in my mind.
Wait, so we are in the drift?
You
Yeah.
are in the drift, but your engines are off. So you're stuck in the physical plane of existence. That is the drift. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. That is my bad. Yes.
Okay.
The drift is a physical place, and you're still in it.
So as soon as we get out of this, we're back in.
You still need to fire up the engine. and
Yeah,
go,
but
yes.
we're still
Yep.
in the drift. Okay.
And the drift thrust or drift engine does not operate on combustion.
Correct. You could sit here for a whole day and just wait and press the button and see what happens.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna-
Guys,
the autosave
We can
will
do
just
that
kick us
first.
back out.
I'm just gonna go to Thurgood.
Uh.
Thurgood, I really don't like being stuck.
Yeah, not a fan of it either.
no,
Well, what?
Can we push the button?
I kind of want to push the button. if Rue is hesitating,
so we're looking at filling the whole cargo bay.
I mean, yeah.
But can we portion off like?
You could. You
Sequester
could
it.
close off the
Because
front.
you could try just doing like the front cargo bay instead of all four of them.
Well, I mean, I feel like the danger is the same.
Yeah, I
it's,
don't think
it's,
it
it's
changes,
10,000 liters versus 40,000 liters.
Yeah.
You know,
But if the
No matter
one
what the
doesn't
front end of the ship where
work,
you're
if
at, it
nothing
blows up.
happens and we do one of them,
But then we have to try 2. Then we have to try 3.
Yeah,
then
but
4.
it's- I mean, I'm all for the
like
scientific method.
it's all about just the amount of pressure we put out.
Boy.
You begin to notice you get a ping on your sensors right now. As if you've been here for probably like half an hour, we'll say, stuck in this jet fuel. There's a ping on your sensors. There is movement somewheres in this field. You definitely notice, at least looking at the sort of the radar screen that you're getting right now, that some of these little ampules are seeming to move, drift a little bit, as if they're moving closer together. I'm not going to move it because it's not moving that substantially, but you definitely can sense it. That even the little globule you're in is starting to sort of move itself closer to the other globules of liquefied, jellified, frozen jet fuel.
okay, we need to get out of here before it gets bigger.
This could have been like a trap for people traveling through the drift.
Yeah,
We might
or
have
it
to
could
get out of
just
here
be like a
fast.
crash that released a bunch of fuel and it just happens to be reacting this way.
I mean,
What
it'd
Either
be
way,
What
a
if
huge ship if that's
these
the
are
case.
like creature globules?
I
be
mean,
alive.
wait, hold on. We've seen some very, very big things moving recently.
Can you test it to see if it's got any DNA?
Well, I tested
You tested it, and
yeah.
it did not.
Yeah, it's purely. Here's
This
the thing.
this one doesn't.
We don't
That
know
would've
what,
been really
what
cool, though.
those spheres moved on under, right? How they were moving. A lot of people. I don't know. Just putting that out there.
I mean, it could have just been
Oh,
a,
like
a
the
tank or
oh gosh, what are they called?
Angry
The gray
squid?
ones,
Mm.
like those things.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, the sphere, the one that came out of, Cerebos and the Myoposis.
Oh, those ones too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, this amount of fuel that we're seeing, like, it's feasible that a single ship could carry this, like the biggest classes.
A big ship, certainly, yeah. If
like
it-
a
yeah.
tanker.
Or do any of us like how's jet fuel harvested? Like.
Yeah, so I mean,
is
hand
just a
wavy
thing
and
that
this-
exists.
It's a thing that exists.
Oh.
It's not needed for like space travel because you have a drift engine, but
Right.
combustion does exist on planets, so it certainly is possible.
Oh.
Either way, there's another ping, second ping on the radar. And then another. Not only are all of these little globules seemingly drifting closer together, but more specifically, inside one of them, there appears. I'm just going to put a dice down. I'll put the big giant dice down because it's cool.
Sure.
Well, that's timed. That's great.
In the distance, several hundred kilometers away, one of the larger globules of this liquefied jet fuel is giving off a pretty rhythmic ping. Not only is the globule moving, but something in it, perhaps, is moving as well. Without further investigation, it'll be hard to really tell, but something's stirring somewheres in this field.
Can I detect magic on some of the jelly we've got in?
Certainly. It is not magical.
All
It
right.
is 100% a physical thing.
All right.
Last chance to check it out.
Can I scan
I-
the
Sure, absolutely. Please give me a computer use check.
26?
Cool. Yeah, you definitely learn a couple of things. First and foremost, before you press that button, you learn a couple of things. There is attached to the small ship, or the other ship that's in the nearest globule, it appears as if, despite you not getting a response, there's approximately a dozen life forms in, on, or around it, or at least pinging it. But that all pales in comparison to the very enormous biological entity that is currently attached to or inside or something that far away globule. And it is of considerable size, like far bigger than your ship.
Cool.
Even.
Is it
Something's
moving?
home.
It's a space squid.
Is it moving with the globule or like through it?
Both, perhaps.
Cool.
Hit the button.
We don't
Right
know if
at
they
middle.
hit the
There's
button.
else we're
people
gonna do?
in
Yeah.
there.
Hit the button. All right. All 4 cargo
Yeah,
bays.
Yeah.
Open them up.
Okay. So the very slam of the button, you all wait for something to go horribly wrong, and all you really feel is a faint shudder in the ship as hopefully the entire undercarriage of it is filling with liquefied jet fuel. After a couple of seconds, everything goes quiet. The rumbling stops. Presumably the doors are closed, and Percival appears and gives you guys somewhat of a thumbs up. It would appear all 4 cargo bays are full, near to capacity.
So we're
Alright.
gonna pressurize
Perfect.
this stuff
Pressurize
now
in
I'm
as much
first.
as we can stand. Yeah, as much
and
as
go out
is
the
safe.
and shoot it at the front.
Yeah. So, all right.
Which way
P-Man,
is
as
the
much
front?
power as you
Like,
can route to
Away that
Yeah.
way?
as much power as you can route to life support.
Yes, certainly.
Pressurize those cargo bays.
I will do so.
How much is it gonna drain from our PCU?
10 power
Okay.
from your PCU. Thank you for asking. As soon as it does, you hear and feel an audible sort of shudder in the ship. Thankfully, perhaps through the front, through your camera view screens, you can see essentially this jet fuel undulating in front of you as if it's being swirled from within, which it is because you're venting your entire cargo hold worth of it back into itself. And sure enough, the ship, over the span of about maybe 10 minutes, pushes itself, not as quickly as you'd hope, but out the other side of this enormous globule of liquefied petroleum as you start to like drift outwards, free and clear and ready to hopefully start up your engines.
God.
What do you guys want to do?
Can
There,
we get clearance from this goo?
Yeah, back us up a wee bit.
Yeah.
Can do.
there are people in that other gob.
In the 10 minutes that it took, has that where has the
It is
relative
still
position changed?
where it is.
It is. Is it approaching our position or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of move them a little bit. If anything, over the span of like half an hour, this is sort of happening.
And it is closing in on the. Okay.
Central one there.
Yes, over about half an hour, it seems to have all sort of collectively moved a little bit.
All right. I think we need to know how long it would take us to get there if we want to try and figure out what's going on in there. Do we have any means for like towing a ship?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Do we
Not
have a
really,
grappler?
unfortunately. That is that is both an expansion bay that could exist, or there are actual weapons that are like.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of asking with
Aesthetic
the.
Anything small enough to put in a shuttle bay.
No.
We have a little 2-person.
Scooter, yeah.
No,
Oh,
not
yeah,
the
we
forklift.
have the
Like we have
forklift.
a,
Yeah,
a-
like a
yeah.
little shuttle.
Little
Shuttle,
escape,
yeah.
escape
Shut-
pod kind
yeah.
of thing.
Oh, okay.
It's combustion.
But does the ship have any like cabling? No.
That's part of the expansion
Okay.
base for like salvage
Specialized.
industries and stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. I think best thing we can do is maybe do a flyby, get actual eyes on this thing, see if it's recoverable, and if it's not, then we just got to get the heck out of Dodge
Okay.
because I don't like with that big
Yeah.
Because we have like a day to kill, so
thing. Exactly.
we can
Yeah.
kind of
Oh yeah, that's true. We gotta
screw
wait.
around in here for a little bit.
Okay. So bringing the Gantt closer, I'm not going to move it on the map, but as you get sort of close, unless you want to, getting closer in to get a good flyby, can someone please give me a computer use check to dial in all your various external cameras, whoever's in the
Maku.
science.
Oh, no,
chamber
who's
right
in the
now.
science chamber right now?
I think both Doc and I
Yeah,
are.
probably
Okay.
both of us. What's your? How good are you at computering?
+9.
You're better than me by 1. You're a
Do you want me
slightly-
to?
Yeah, go for it.
14.
14. Okay. So as you get closer, you dial in enough of the external cameras and sort of set their polarity in such a way as to try to see through as much of this liquefied jet fuel as you possibly can to get a look at whatever ship is inside. You notice a couple of things. First and foremost, the ship does appear to be broken into several pieces, like 5 or 6. It's entirely vented. It's entirely destroyed. So the life forms that you are sensing are certainly not inhabitants, not crew of the ship. You do manage to dial in at kind of the right time a little bit. You catch glimpses of movement on the outside of the ship. Now, it's sort of hard to really figure it out, but they're multi-legged creatures of considerable size. Probably, I would say each of them is about the size of the largest Formian you guys fought, at the very least. Clinging to the outside of the ship, is sort of moving very slowly inside this jellied promethium stuff. However, and perhaps more troubling, when you get closer and start to scan things in, you get not quite a good look, but a bit of a hazy look at whatever the enormous organic entity in the far globule is. Sort of through the haze of both space and multiple layers of jellied promethium, it looks sort of like a tick. Yeah. Or a spider, or some sort of arthropod at the very, very least, whose sort of like center abdomen is the size of your ship. Its rearmost abdomen is larger still, and it appears to be sort of moving like a water spider on the inside of the globule that it's in, at the same time functioning like a hamster ball, as if it's pushing itself forwards inside this globule of liquefied petroleum. You also do realize that there is certainly plenty of salvage available, and you would definitely recognize that from your prior experience. There's all kinds of salvage available on that ship inside that globule. If you had time, effort, and wanted to. Equipment, you could possibly salvage something.
How deep is it in the glob?
It's sort of spread out. Some of it's in the middle, some of it's right on the edge.
Is there some right on the edge that we could get to?
Sure.
There, we could like grab just a little bit of it, and we could make a few dollars. I know my bear friend here would like that.
I would like that, but consider the large tick bearing down on us. Or
But
whatever.
that's just right here.
You think we could? I mean, if you want to risk life and limb on a rickety little shuttle out there, it would be kind of cool. Maybe, but like, in terms of what's feasible, yeah. Hey, I'm not gonna say no. I'll say that much.
How fast is the tick thing making its way?
Very, very slowly.
Okay. We got
Almost
some
like
time.
cosmically slow.
Yeah, screw it. Somebody
But
should
we
go
don't
with
have anything to collect. Oh, I guess. What, through the air? Like, how? What's the plan for collecting salvage?
Well,
seeing what's on, you know.
well, if it's just right here, so if we could, you, Mr. Robot,
Yes.
do you get cold?
No.
So could you go through the petroleum without getting hurt?
It's the getting back I'm more concerned about. Also, whatever those bugs are.
Is there any bugs on the one that's closest to us?
Yeah, little tiny ones. Well, tiny ones. They're as big as the
It's
queen,
the Formians.
the Formian queen you fought, at the very least, clinging to the outside of the other ship. Most of which, I will say, almost all of them are congregated around the large central part, in the center of it, as if they're feeding on it, perhaps.
What do they appear to be doing? Like
Yeah, so
chilling?
yeah, spending a little bit of time finagling in those centers ever so close. You sort of dial in on one of them. It appears to be at least of similar form and function as the very large creature on its way, but considerably smaller. And they appear to be essentially feeding on the ship itself, almost exactly like a tick,
Like eating the metal?
but eating the actual ship itself.
Should we
Yes.
check if we have any
I
of
was
those
just
on
going
our
to say
ship?
that myself.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. How do we check to see if there's
Like
any
a
on
life
our
Yeah.
ship?
form sensor.
Yeah, you just sort of could scan the outside of the ship.
Okay,
It doesn't
yeah.
even require a check at all. And asking Percy to do so, Percival, thank you. Asking Percival to do so, you look at all the huge array of screens in the sensor's chamber, and they sort of flick through the external cameras. There doesn't appear to be anything affixed to the outside of your ship.
Yeah, what about the cargo? We just pumped a bunch of stuff through.
Through those cameras? Nope.
Okay.
All clear. It seems as if, for the most part, these are largely uninhabited, save for the big giant one and whatever's on that little tiny ship.
We can shoot it.
We could shoot it.
That would get rid of them, probably.
Oh, I have an
It would
idea.
probably get rid of it too.
I have an
Get
idea.
rid of the
I have
ship.
an
It's already
idea. I have an
broken.
idea. When we put it in, it just kind of like caught on fire, and it didn't really damage the inside of the airlock. That's correct, right?
A tiny little scorch mark on the floor.
Yeah.
No.
So what if we just throw a flame kind of onto that one, and it burns up all the fuel? Then we just grab a piece of the salvage and go away.
Shoot it.
I mean,
The big mama might not be too happy if we do.
We
that.
can
Well,
shoot
Big
it,
Mama is
it's
very
in a
slow.
giant thing of gas.
I mean,
So could you like shoot it, and maybe it'll catch on fire?
yeah.
Try not to hit one of the bugs, because we don't know that they're bad yet.
What if we like wait until we are closer to our drift engine being charged?
Yeah.
Yeah,
deal
that's
with
probably a
this.
good
Yeah,
idea.
but
And
we're
we
not in
can,
the gas,
like,
so we could
get
just
the hell outta here.
regular fly away.
No,
I'm
I mean
sure
like
we could fly
we could just
Orbit.
get out of here if the big tick can do something.
Yes, but if we
besides-
wait, then the big tick is going to get faster, and we at least can like fly in our regular speed. So, like, I would say we should do it right now.
I mean, shoot it.
Convinced.
I want to see if I can get a piece of one of these things.
Yeah. All right. I'm team shoot first. Ask questions later. For now.
Okay, well, what's the range on our weapon? Like, we can get some space between ourselves and it.
Hi.
Launch.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
6. Yeah. Your ship. Range 10. Like 10 hexes, so plenty huge.
Yeah.
Can back way the hell up and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you sort of wheel around and line the ship up again and prepare to fire your enormous massier into the thing of liquefied petroleum. Should you so desire, once again I ask, who wants to press the
How
button?
big was the flame when you did this in the airlock with that little tiny bit of
We're
jelly?
not gonna blow up
Like
space.
scorch
It's like a
scorch.
kid messing around and lighting hand sanitizer on fire.
Yeah,
Surely
it,
not.
it was substantive but not huge.
Okay.
All right.
So, like, it's going to set off the ones around it if it catches fire.
That
Maybe.
seems
Maybe.
like it would be fine.
And,
We are removing a roadblock in this very
and
untrained.
get the tick. The giant tick.
It might hit the tick. Yeah.
It might.
Okay.
If we
Yeah.
get lucky. I kind of slap the pilot seat and gesture at it if anybody wants to get into it, and I hustle down the elevator into the guns.
The main gun is controlled on the bridge.
is control the bridge.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it gives everybody some continuity all in
Yeah.
the same chamber. So you sort of hop down a seat
Yeah.
into the gunner seat, which you need to wedge yourself
There's
into.
autopilot on this thing, yeah?
There is, yes.
Yeah, so you can just flip on the autopilot.
for now, unless somebody.
Now, autopilots are idiots.
Mm-hmm.
We're not
Well,
going anywhere. We're
We're not-
staying
yeah,
still.
if he's in the same room, he can get back to it
Sure.
fast.
Yep.
Oh boy. All right, I sort of
Sure.
turn both keys as it were. And,
You're wide enough to turn both at the same time.
Please give me a gunnery check, please, which is just a piloting check,
piloting.
and this is going to be one that's going to be reasonably hard to fail because you're shooting an inanimate giant blob of fuel.
15.
So, firing the master for the first time on board this ship, there's a weird thing where every time it shoots, it drains, by the way.
no, didn't even check
Yeah.
that.
It drains 15 of your PC,
Okay.
which you have a considerable amount of.
Right,
Yeah,
but it
well,
regens really
Yeah,
slow.
175 we're at now.
Okay.
I've got it.
No, I don't want to open whatever this is. Okay, go back to it. So as all the lights in the ship for a second sort of not flicker but dim momentarily, you watch through your viewports as, I'm going to explain it from the outside in, a pair of essentially turrets appear on the top and bottom of the ship, allowing you essentially free reign in all directions, but right now they're both pointing forwards. As they form a sort of convergence, 2 points between each other, the front of the ship, which coalesces, builds up some strength, and then finally shoots outward a solid, continuous beam of just radiant flame, fire, and light, giving itself oxygen and power through the void of space. And as it streaks across the wide open expanse, taking a good solid 10 minutes to get there because space is really, really big, you just wait on bated breath and hoping things aren't going
He's
to
just
go.
got all 6 of his fists. Like,
Yeah. Enhance. Eventually, you watch as the Mazier blast slams into the liquefied petroleum, and in an instant, all your screens white out. Just a flash of fire. There's static at first. Even Percival blinks a little bit, sort of flickers for a second as the whole ship begins to rattle ever so slightly. When your sensors essentially reboot and come back online again, you look outwards, you see a couple of things. First and foremost, all the liquefied petroleum that was around the destroyed ship is gone.
Yeah.
Secondly, all the creatures that were on the outside of that ship are also gone. Thirdly, a good portion of the ship is gone.
that's okay.
And fourthly and finally, you can see that the enormous giant space louse tick creature that was moving in the other globule, as your sensors had turned back on, has sort of departed from, pushed itself through the little globule that it was on, and is now drifting freely and openly towards the destroyed and ruined, the wreck of a ship, as if it's moving to take control and eat it itself, perhaps, or see if any of its spawn have survived, or any of those sort of things. I'm going to put it on the map just to give you a real sense of scale of this
I just have a
creature.
quick question. Is it moving faster, slower, the same speed?
Is moving slightly faster than the big globule was, but far slower than your ship.
Okay.
But it's like really, really slow. But to give you a sense of scale and size.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Get rid of that. Get rid of this.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Big tick.
Big giant space tick, which in this case is a giant spider. But this creature is almost, I will say almost, exactly like the big giant constructed segmented arm squid monster that destroyed the Myoposis, is moving in the same sort of way, as if it's like pushed itself off of the globule of jet fuel and is now just drifting towards the destroyed ship. What do you all want to do?
Are our sensors registering any radioactivity off of it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think we should go and get as much as we
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
we should just open the cargo bay and scoop it up
Flat
like
grab
a
it,
whale?
Yeah.
I mean, we've already abused this ship enough. I think this is just another part for the course. We'll decelerate a little bit on the pickup, eh? But
Oh yeah, I think with all of our hands we could just
We can
tether and go
pivot
on.
it in,
Oh,
bring the
yeah.
ship in
Yeah,
sideways,
we can
open
do
up
it.
the cargo bay,
oh,
close it up.
yeah.
We could do it.
I love your confidence, Maku.
Not gonna lie, kind of riding a high from the, from the explosion. That's a good day. That's a good day in my book. All right.
So with a plan formulated,
Light it
who's
up.
going to grab a hold of the sticks?
Or do you want to use the little pod like a tugboat?
I don't
They're
think
trying to
that's.
tether it to the little
Yeah,
one with
I
the
think we just open up and just
drift through space, drive by drifting cargo.
Yeah, I
scoop.
think
Yeah.
if
Yes.
a bunch of us
Yeah.
go down there to kind of manipulate it in so nothing gets damaged.
I don't know if
So
it's,
the
is it
big
small enough?
airlocks on the cargo bays are at the side of the ship.
Yeah, so those are like personal entrances, but the entire side also opens.
Oh, okay,
Like, fish
cool.
like huge
Okay.
cargo doors. Yeah, so you could open all one side and have the entire length of your ship have a door that's probably 20 feet tall.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we
You
should
just
do
like
that.
drift into it,
Yeah.
grab it, close it,
Yeah,
punch
let's
it.
do it. All right.
I
I'm
love
gonna,
it.
I'm gonna take us in.
It feels like such a bad idea, but we can't not.
Yeah, I know.
We're committed now.
Yeah.
That's TTRPGs, baby.
Like as we
Yeah.
start getting closer, let's watch if this thing starts moving faster.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Somebody else want to take guns while I fly, or vice versa? Does somebody want to fly while I take guns?
I'll fly.
Maku wants to fly. Is anybody else who is not Maku?
Is Maku good at flying?
Like I flew. Yes.
Okay. You know
I
what?
did pretty good
You
on
know what?
the moat.
Again, riding the high, absolutely.
I
Get
thought
in that
Maku
seat.
wanted to be scavenging though, like grabbing the pieces.
Oh, I want to do all the things I'm doing.
Okay, fly. We're gonna say flying first.
He can't decide.
Oh god, flying first.
To be fair, I'm very little, and I don't think I could grab the thingies like you guys can.
All right, I'm on guns.
Okay. On guns, ready to go.
Yeah.
At the captain's seat.
Yeah.
In the piloting chair.
I'm gonna jump on sensors.
On the sensors.
I'm gonna
Okay.
scan the hell out of that.
Certainly.
Yeah,
Nively,
the
up to
tech.
anything?
Just taking up, seeing who needs help.
Okay. Stevie too.
Can I have the pilot?
Do we
Like
want to make
opposite.
sure we have like tethers and stuff to, or is the floor magnetic in the cargo? Like, how
Yeah,
is
it
this
is.
gonna work?
Yep.
In
Well,
terms of...
it's gonna work not at all like it's supposed to.
like,
Yeah.
how? I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
like physically, how is this going to work?
We're gonna hand wave him based on the roll that occurs. So normally it takes
Fab.
it takes an
Okay.
hour to fill one cargo hold by conventional means.
Yeah.
Now,
Conventional.
nothing about this is conventional.
Wait, the little forklift thing. It moves.
That's
we're
way
doing
too
this.
small.
We're doing
right?
the thing where we do like those ships that come into the into harbors
And like
and,
boats
and they
fly into
sink
them.
down, and
Yeah.
then you drive on top of it.
Yeah, like an
That-
oil rig
we're
drives
doing
on
that,
top.
except that we're moving underwater
Yeah.
with it and just lifting up as we go by.
So
Right.
Can I
Okay.
have the piloting sheet?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
CB2 is going outside of the power core to meditate because the cargo bay is going to be occupied very soon.
it is, yeah. So you're just
like
like,
jet fuel.
okay, find inner piece, find inner piece,
Oh my
find inner
God!
piece.
I'm gonna crash in the drift. I'm gonna crash in the drift.
Again.
I'm going to crash
Maku.
that ship in 7 days.
Yep.
Maku, could you please give me a piloting check?
Don't fuck it up.
Here we go. I have faith in you.
And don't fuck it up.
All kinds of groaning happening.
12.
12.
Yeah, we have
Cargo
a
bay
lot
is
of
no
hit points.
longer airtight.
You now have 2 cargo bit.
I'm a much better engineer than I am a pilot.
Before she does that, or he does that, hold on. Because I'm still getting used to deck officer.
Yeah, of course.
I can help with a manual adjustment before the role is resolved.
Okay.
It involves taking on risks.
Yes.
Of course.
I don't have any risks currently, so for the first manual adjustment, I believe I don't have to calculate the risks, but then I'm taking it on for the next one.
Manual adjustment.
Because it works that I make the decisions,
That is correct.
and then I take it on the second time, you mean? So the first one's kind of...
Oh no, so you get to choose. So you get to say, I want to grant a +1 bonus.
Yep.
DC is 10. I want to grant a +2 bonus. It's 15. I want a +3. It's 20.
Gotcha.
So you pick how hard you want your check to be based on the bonus you want to apply. So if you wanted to set it at DC 20, if you failed, Maku would have taken a -3, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
I
think
can
you
make it much better or much worse.
Yes.
I wouldn't push me below 10.
Fly right into the tick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Scoop it up.
you just see the
I
vision,
got
like its soft
overconfident.
body, like. Oh.
I mean, inertia in space is the whole thing.
Yep.
Ticks.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got
I'll-
the heebie-jeebies too.
I'll bump you by at least one.
Here we go.
I believe it's that button.
So DC is just 10 then.
Oh, then +2.
Okay.
Then.
DC is 15.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Oh, geez, that's a lot. 28.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
You got a +2 to your roll.
14.
14.
Probably
Good for you guys.
You push a button, I just reach over and slowly change what button you're pushing.
So between the two of you with your 8 hands, you successfully managed to navigate the ship, or navigate the ship to drift sideways towards this giant wreck of recently exploded petroleum ship with a giant tick coming in. So, as the scene, as it were, from those of you looking through the viewport, you see a couple of things. First, the Gant sort of does lunge forwards and then turn to be sort of parallel, drifting literally sideways through space, which gives you a very commanding view of the enormous space tick that is in the distance, drifting towards you. Right now, all you can see is you're committed, drifting sideways, is the back of it, essentially. All of its legs are folded in behind itself, so all you can see is the segmented and armored carapace on the outside. But as you begin to hear some pretty distinct ping, boop, and smacking noises as you enter the debris field that was once the ship, it seems to register that something is occurring, because you watch as it, in place somehow, sort of rotates around to orient itself so its exposed abdomen is facing you, all 6 of its stubby, gross, spiked, segmented legs reaching out towards your ship, although you're still quite a ways away. The cacophony of crashing, scraping, and breaking begins to grow louder and louder as the Gant gets into the debris field proper, and now you can really feel the ship beginning to rock as it smacks into the destroyed ship. On bated breath, hoping that the Gant doesn't just shake itself to pieces because of this maneuver, or stop to the point that this giant space tick can get closer to you, you start to notice a couple of things. The giant space louse, tick, spider, whichever we're going to call it, is beginning to secrete something from inside its abdomen. It is the same jellied promethium type stuff is being forced out of a small a sphincter. Also, at the rear end of it, there's a growing globule, like a water drop, beginning to form and swell and swell and swell. As your ship, as the Gant is just drifting sideways, nothing just happened, as you're deciding what to do or not, there's some pretty distinct loud thuds and crashes as you've hit the real meat and potatoes of this destroyed ship. And around the same time, the giant space louse convulses pretty violently. And when it does, this globule of promethium gets sent through space directly toward your ship, kind of like a spider casting a web or throwing a snowball of jet fuel in your general direction. But through a combination of bad rolls by me and decent rolls by you, you successfully enough managed to avoid this giant globule. And through the rightmost viewport, you watch as you sort of pass through the debris field. This giant globule passes by this way, collecting what you missed, as if it's just collecting the dust and debris and going into the distance. There's still some pretty violent shaking, and Percival appears at the back. We have suffered some considerable damage to our ship.
Figures.
Of course.
Well, I mean, what could you expect? So the Gant takes 25 points of damage to its hull that bypasses shields entirely as you intentionally rammed a debris field.
Yes.
which is fine. You can hear some klaxons going off in the distance, which Percival sort of looks at you and just turns off because you know what you were doing. This was by design. As the ship continues to sort of just drift, the spider tick thing has changed its course, having missed with its first little globule here, and is clearly drifting towards you guys as if it is under its own propulsion one way or another.
Boy.
The clattering has stopped, largely speaking. Either your cargo holds are gone, or they're full. One of the two. What do you want to do?
Guys, I think we
need
gotta
to close
go.
the doors and go.
Yeah, we gotta
Here,
go.
close the doors.
Okay,
If they'll
close the
respond
doors.
to commands.
Let's go.
I'm
close
gonna
the
look
door.
at the cargo hold from the.
Yeah, certainly. So you click on the cargo hold camera, it's just static.
Okay.
Fabulous. Percival, can you give us a status update on what's in the cargo hold?
It seems as if there's a great deal of debris
Fabulous.
inside the cargo hold. It seems as if the mission has been accomplished, although with considerable damage to the ship.
Yeah, figures.
Shut the doors.
Yeah. Lock them up.
Do the doors shut?
So there's a moment that goes by where Percival pauses. Doors are closing, yes.
Okay.
And after maybe 30 seconds or so, still watching this giant space louse come towards you, hear the 4 giant cargo bay doors close.
I'm
gonna
gonna keep
gun
the
it.
gun trained on the
Certainly.
on the thing, but I'm not gonna fire until it's like uncomfortably close. But Maku, I think we gotta get
Yeah,
out.
Okay,
I'm
wait. So
gonna-
before you do that, so Thurgood, if the tick
Yeah.
attacks, then fire.
Fire
And
will. yeah, you
Maku,
got
if
it.
you can, are you planning to just fly? So
Uh,
plus,
I could fly or I could boost, but boosting is a little bit harder for me because I don't really know what I'm
okay. So then, can you fly us out of here? And I'm going to encourage,
Yes, please.
which gives not encourage. That's battle plan, which is a DC 15. So we'll see.
Certainly.
We'll see here. Oh, nat 20.
Hey.
So it was like a 29.
Okay, so that what would that mean?
Is
Or
it plus
You
one?
get a +1
if
to. Oh, it was a 29, so that pushes it actually. So it's a +3.
Nice.
To both of us?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
You
So,
go ahead.
As long
Give-
as you do what I told you.
yes.
Fly
Just
away.
kidding.
No guarantees.
I'm holding fire. I'm not.
Ooh, I got a. That's a 3 and a 6 and a +3, 29.
29 is pretty decent. So,
Oh, yeah.
not unfortunately, but for what it's worth, the Gant is not a fast ship by any stretch of the imagination. So as you sort of just punch it as best you can, it's like putting the floor down on a car with really a crappy engine, which is partially broken because it starts to rattle in place, and you watch as, like it or not, you're getting closer to the tick because just the way it's oriented and the way it's coming as well. But after maybe a good 10 minutes of actually burning as fast as you possibly can, gun trained forever on this tick, the Gant slowly begins to sort of bypass it, and you can see that it's turning its whole body, trying its best to keep itself oriented towards you as you're keeping the gun trained on it. It is also slow as fuck, just like you guys. So it seems at the very least you might be able to skirt away from this creature before it can catch you. But through the sensors, those of you who are watching, it has, over the span of 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long it's been, recouped enough of its stamina to potentially lob another globule of liquefied petroleum at you, because you're watching, maybe with horror, through the sensors, as from its abdomen, once again, it's pulsating, convulsing, and beginning to produce another globule.
Try to intercept that with my gun.
Absolutely.
Like if
Yeah.
it releases it, I
Sure.
want to try to fire on the globule.
I also have evade. I don't know anything about the pilot, sorry. Can I do an
Very in
evade
character.
to try to get away from that? Is that how that works? Or?
That adds
gives
AC. Adds to your
Yes,
AC.
you could. Evade and choose a target. Yep, you could.
So while he's trying to shoot it, could I?
Yep. If it is shot, you could also do the evade. What do you got over there?
No, I was just saying. So yeah, it's the same speed, but it adds AC
Yep.
versus your target. Yeah.
Would this count as following Rulona's orders or not for the purposes of the +3?
It would not.
It would not. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Still makes
So,
sense to do.
as the ship is moving and you realize it's about to fire on you again, Maku, go ahead and give me your piloting check for your evasion.
I got 1 point below 17.
Oh no! So the ship does move, but not as fast as you want, and you actually take a penalty.
Yeah,
to your
minus
AC,
minus 1 AC.
unfortunately. But still, as this giant tick creature does in
And
fact
that costs PC.
plonk.
2.
That's
yeah.
That's a 10.
Oh my goodness! So now let's see if I hit you, because as as you say, punch it and try to go as quick as you can. You realize it doesn't have all that much spry energy in it. It's a big giant freighter ship. It doesn't exactly evade too well, and you go to shoot at it. Unfortunately, shooting a little bit wide, perhaps even hitting near enough to the tick. It sort of moves and undulates. The giant glob of promethium comes your way.
What was the PCU cost of the shot?
It's 10, I believe.
10? Okay.
10 or 15.
15. Oh, it was 15
15.
from before. Yeah.
Yikes.
So, my dice has betrayed me back here.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you guys get luck every now and then. So, as the Gant goes to sort of drift away, you say punch it, and the ship awkwardly lurches a little bit, throwing your shot off wide. You do evade the shot of liquefied petroleum jet fuel, or it is a little bit off. Perhaps it's not used to aiming at actual ships. It seems to have cast a wide net of sorts, and its actual projectiles aren't all that great, because evading as best you can, you watch through the sensors as just through the rear, this big globule goes by and joins up with another one, adding a little bit of mass to it, letting you sort of approximate that each one of these globules might have been like 30 or 40 excretions of this creature, spending a great deal of time setting this up. As the Gant, for all of its speed and ferocity, slowly begins to drift away, leaving behind this little field of sticky flypaper, almost in a sense that explodes, but sticky flypaper, putting distance between you and this field and this giant space louse. With some damage to your ship and potentially a cargo hold full of something at the very least, you've successfully managed to avoid this problem for all really intents and purposes. Even with your wild, crazy idea of drifting sideways through a debris field, it worked.
Hell yeah.
So as you drift farther and farther away,
Can we take drift coordinates for where this is?
you absolutely can.
Right on, you go.
Someone in the center's
Yep.
suite, please give me a computer use check.
I'm not there anymore. So
I'm there.
Neither of you's there?
I'm there.
Oh, okay.
Computer use?
Yes, please.
Nat 20 plus 8.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Fly back in your sleep.
Easily enough. You can call it whatever you want and use whatever naming convention you want to do, but you have coordinates to explodey space louse.
Fuel station.
explodey.
Fuel station.
Space less fuel station.
Okay.
Yes, you absolutely do.
Perfect.
So now, what you need to do is essentially pilot it away, spend the rest of the day waiting for your drift engines to recharge, and hope this thing can't keep pace, but I can guarantee you it can't. It's slower than you, despite being far larger. You can sort of settle in for an afternoon of quiet contemplation, potentially go see what you found in your cargo hold. Okay,
Yeah.
Going down
There's
too.
a way to repair or no?
yes. We'll get to that
Okay.
momentarily. It does require a shipyard.
Never mind.
Yep. Unless the engineer can do repairs, but it's only once per excursion,
Okay, cool.
as it were.
We'll see if there's any salvageable parts down in our cargo bay.
Certainly.
We just got 40,000 pounds of scrap metal.
So, as you go down into the cargo bay, those of you who are going, which is definitely Maku for sure. Who else is going? Going.
I'll stay up on the bridge. to
Okay.
make sure.
I'll stay up on the bridge
Okay.
on the guns.
I'm
just-
still meditating. I'm just glad I'm
You
alive.
have no idea what's going on. You just heard some rattling and you feel okay. So the three of you heading down to the cargo bay. As soon as the sort of platform begins to descend into the lower deck, you get about 10 feet and clunk, just hits the side as you hit a huge pile of trash and refuse. As the cargo bay is full, but not orderly, by any stretch of the imagination.
How hot is it down there?
It's reasonably warm. Not unbearable, but warm.
Maku's just gonna slide off of the platform and go like digging around.
You're immediately in your element. You're essentially in a giant junkyard that's filled to the brim as far as you can see, which is limited right now because you're in a junkyard, just filled with scrap metal, wires, components. Some of it is probably on fire. It's fantastic.
Over my comms. Maku, can you try and fix the cameras down there while you're looking around?
Oh yeah, sure.
Looking up, you can see why they were not wrecked, but certainly smashed and moved and, well, hit by several thousand tons of metal.
Can I try to fix them?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me an engineering check. And depending on what it is, I'll tell you exactly what you find in addition
Oh, okay, sure.
in the cargo hold.
24.
24. Okay. So as the Gant is just motoring away from the space louse, you learn a couple of things. First, you manage to fix all the cameras on the inside. Second, you realize that most of the damage was superficial, but still damage to the hull. In fact, all the doors on the one side will probably open a little bit funky for a little while until you get it fixed. Secondly, you can aggregate all of this cargo together to fill 2 cargo holds worth of salvageable material, which, for our purposes, if you get to a place that you can find someone to buy scrap metal, you can get more build points for your ship to upgrade it in the future, which we'll do mostly off stream.
Yep.
Secondly, the destroyed ship was armed. You actually managed to find 2 weapons that are salvageable and could be put on your ship. One of them is a coil gun, which is a pretty standard issue weapon. It's on a lot of ships. Very long range, reasonable damage, not very PCU intensive. And second is a micro missile battery, which right now only has 2 salvos worth of ammunition that were salvageable. But what a micro missile battery does what it allows you to do is fire a great big giant spray of missiles. It's not a single target thing. It's relatively close range. And let's say you were being a shotgun of missiles. Yeah, if you were being attacked by 30 tiny space louse, you'd go and hope to hit as many of them as you can. Both of those weapons could be mounted on this ship at a shipyard with time, but you have access to them.
Cool.
Which is good.
Can I look for the pilot seat to see if it'll be better suited for Michael?
It's a fantastic question. Yes. So, feeling reasonably safe that you're safe from the space louse, you don't so much find the seat you're looking for, but I can say if you get to a shipyard and sacrifice one of your salvageable lots, you could construct such a thing to allow Nival to control it with actual physicality as opposed to just fly-by-wire.
Like a mecha suit.
Yeah, a giant, like 400-foot long mech.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Cool. I mean, I'm so into that.
Yep, absolutely. So you're confident you could do so once you arrive at a shipyard. Okay. Pass off to you. Anything you want to do in the intervening, 20 hours or so until the ship is ready to go again?
Do I find any pieces? Can I find any pieces of the space lice? Louses.
Yeah,
Louses.
sure. Give me a perception check, please.
Pieces.
Not really. 11.
11. So, no, not upon initial sort of scan with your eyeballs, but then Percival chimes up. Being as helpful as he is, he appears. I have used the ship's internal sensors to find some organic matter clinging to some pieces of the refuse.
Perfect.
And over the course of a couple hours, through his direction, he points you in the right area to essentially find mushed up dead space louse attached to some of the ship that got burned away and then caught up by your ship. So there's some organic matter that is salvageable. Scoop it into
that
it.
up. Yep.
Fantastic. You can add like one space louse corpse.
Cool.
Essentially.
I'm gonna drag that
Crispy.
into my
Does
bedroom.
it smell barbecued?
It probably smells like teriyaki, if I had to guess.
I mean, that's not the worst.
That's not bad.
It's not the worst, yeah.
Everyone eat your.
Good eating today. No gray goo.
At some point during that time, I'd want to wander down and detect magic around all of, like, just
Certainly, yeah. So just moving
spend some
around,
time.
scanning and stuff. Yeah, there's nothing magical.
Okay.
On board the ship, and there probably hasn't been for a very long time. You definitely get the impression that the ship was inside this goo for a while, being fed upon, at the very least. So, as you go through the salvaging process and spend a great deal of hours carefully organizing it as best you can, or maybe not in Maku's case, just chucking it into two of the cargo holds.
Yeah, I'll be organizing after Maku. You don't need this? Okay. You need this? Okay. Just helping Maku.
So after successfully cataloging the remains of this ship, you have two cargo holds full of salvage, a pair of weapons which can easily fit in those cargo holds as well, still two empty spaces worth of cargo to potentially have, and over the course of 20-odd hours, the drift engine is fire-uppable again. It does, however, require a new navigation check from whoever that is, whoever's going to be the pilot, which I think is still Thurgood.
Yeah.
As you, even though you know your destination, you've hit a roadblock in the worst possible way, but it could have gone worse.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and give me a navigation check.
Please be better. I've not been rolling well, specifically with this die. Okay. 21.
21. Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So, despite having this roadblock of liquefied exploding petroleum ticks and stuff, you've actually managed to center yourself a little bit, and you will get to Absalon Station in 2 days' time.
Okay.
And with the press of the button, with the same shudder rumble occurs, time stretches a little bit, and you carry on in the drift, getting up to light speed, hopefully not going to crash into any more monstrosities. You got 2 days to get there, and I'm going to quickly pass it off to you guys because we're getting near to the end of today's session, but there's some stuff I want to cover still. So I'll pass it off to you guys. Any last preparations, conversations to have amongst yourselves before you hopefully get to Absalon Station in one piece?
Anyone been to Absalom?
No.
No?
First time there for me.
Only been a handful of times, and it was always no quick. Quick spots.
Do they have a scrapyard?
Oh yeah. Got just about anything you could want, really.
Cool.
Bustling.
Nival, you said that you would like to learn how to be a pilot, right?
Yeah, I believe it is something that I could be good at. I've in short distances have piloted, but I've kind of done a little bit of everything. But I believe it's something that could be fun.
I bet you that if we go to a scrapyard, we could either build you a bigger chair or we could build you a little custom thing to let you pilot. It's a lot of fun.
Maybe both. I think one is cheaper than the other, but ideally we can get both. Yeah, I just need to go find a big
Do we want to
cushion chair.
discuss who will be doing what if we are sticking together, as it seems we are?
That's true. You mean for ships or just how we're going to handle Absalom?
Well, both, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the pecking order kind of worked itself out here. I think people gravitated towards what they were good at. CP2 most of all. Dating.
Balance.
Is he even here? Where is CB2?
Well, no, I mean, no, I do mean that, though. I mean, you used your sixth sense, as it were, to wake us up
I suppose
before.
30 seconds of warning is better than no warning.
It absolutely is. 30 times better, I'd say. Yeah. As far as Absalom, what's the objectives? Get this hunk of junk fixed up, dump off our 40,000 pounds of, hot metal. Go liaise with the Starfinder Society.
Try and find Tazavir at the Starfinder Society.
Yeah, get some answers there. Live it up as
Right.
well. It's been a hell of a long time since I've been off the Myoposis. Even longer since I've been in the Pact Worlds.
Oh, we
This
have
could be
honey
good.
to sell too.
We do have honey to sell. We got honey and scrap. Look at that. RV
And
Space
space
Trader.
lives.
Uh, there is also some fuel left, yes.
Also coordinates. I bet somebody would
Yep.
be willing to
Yeah,
pay for
somebody
that
might want to
somewhere.
go
Absolutely.
mine that.
I
think.
believe it would be called cheesy, but I'm glad it sounds like we're deciding to stick together.
You guys are really fun.
This is the most fun I've had in a while.
With the Myoposis now gone, are we no longer losers either?
Ooh.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't say that yet.
Oh,
if your bully dies,
okay.
can they bully you anymore?
I have a question.
Sure.
If you two are famous, why were you in the losers pool?
I was never really famous.
Oh, like they didn't get your article on the Myoposis?
I mean, there's an article out there somewhere, but it's not really about me being famous. It's just about me existing.
But you're a sponsored war hero, so why were you in the losers pool?
That is such a big question. I'm sure you've seen washed up celebrities before, right? People,
No, you
well,
are the first celebrity I've met. Other than CB2.
right.
Yeah.
Another time, Mr. Maku, maybe.
Okay.
Another time. But you know what? I'm coming around. You did a good job flying us around. Maybe.
What do you mean by washed up? Like you hadn't had a bath in a while?
All right. Yeah. Any other plans in Absalom, or is that just sort of the lowdown? I imagine we might get some answers. Maybe. I mean.
I think whatever we find, I think our discussion with the Starfinder Society may give us an idea if there's anything further to do there.
Needed better. Yeah.
I
Well-
mean, I'm certainly curious what those things were that destroyed the Myoposis.
Oh yeah. I'm just hurtling through space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also how much we get for the sale of our goods will
Oh,
also
yeah.
likely have some impact on
Well,
what we
we'll
decide
see.
to do.
I've done a bit of haggling. I think it'll be all right. But yeah, credits speak louder than words.
I think all of us realize that, having come from the losers pool on the Myoposis. Yeah. We do have that 2,200 credits from the Vangst, though, so that's a good start.
That's not nothing. Yeah, that's some food at least.
Speaking of the Vangst, those weapons that we found on the Vangst, there were a few that we hadn't assigned to people, I believe. We could just put those in the weapons room.
For now, yeah. I'm hanging on to the railgun though.
Yes.
Blame you. Okay.
All right.
So, with the 2 days of quiet travel through the remainder of the drift that occur, you definitely get a pop-up as Percival appears, saying, "We are near to the Starstone coordinates. We should be arriving by hour's end." There is, however, a message from the stewards awaiting your consideration. Shall I display it?
Yeah. The who?
The what?
So the stewards would be
Oh, yes,
an
yes.
organization you're kind of aware of.
Yes.
Interpol, RCMP,
Yes.
FBI, big intergalactic pack worlds explicit, mostly explicit, police force essentially.
Gotcha.
And as Percival sort of keys it up on the main display inside the bridge, appearing before you is a young, relatively stern-looking human female who has red hair that is pretty closely cropped, borderline shaved, and pretty piercing green eyes with blue armor. Clearly someone of authority, someone of some power, and you recognize the blue armor to pretty much signify that they're a member of the stewards. And when she appears on screen, sort of full, this giant, just from here up bust on the screen, she stares directly into your bridge in a somewhat pre-recorded message. Your ship is on coordinates, or on course to old, ancient Starstone destinations. Please, course correct to these new coordinates that have been attached with this message to ensure you do not find yourself in the vast, in the void, and miles from Absalon Station. This is not a request.
Did that come with coordinates?
It did, yeah. And you can sure enough see, as you sort of open up the coordinates, they're not too far off. It appears as if what she said is accurate. The coordinates you had were possibly very, very old from who they came from. And the new ones are hopefully more accurate to get you within an area of safety and security, perhaps. Or at least not in the vastness of space. And it's very, very easy for you to key in the coordinates because the ship is already nearly there as is, and it won't take you too long to get to where you're going. What do you guys do?
Well, dress up, button up, wash your face. We're back among civilization.
Did we just take that at face value?
Can
I sense motive off of
Yeah,
a
you absolutely
video?
Yeah. I know passive isn't a thing in this, but
Oh, 11.
She's speaking with authority, and it seems as if it's a safety thing, more than anything.
You said it looked like a pre-recorded message. Was it specifically for us, or was it more of a broadcast?
It seemed to
type
be
thing?
a broad catch-all, like robocall sent out to anyone who happens to be off course.
I mean, the station that I grew up at drifted over time.
We could
So-
always come back later.
Yeah, I'm just more on the thought of what if this is someone trying to lure us to somewhere.
I mean, you'd have to be pretty gutsy to try to subvert the stewards like that.
Okay.
And we also got the coordinates from a ship
300-year-old
that's 300 years
ship.
old.
Yeah.
Well, that's like gap time almost, right?
It's
Yeah.
telling.
Didn't we take the coordinates off the bridge of the Myoposis, though?
You did.
We did.
You
Yes,
did.
we did.
Which is
The Myoposis
hasn't been back to the pack worlds in
Okay.
Very long
forever,
time,
as far
yeah.
as you know.
Oh, I thought it was from the ship itself.
No.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
We'll say both.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright. Yeah. Closing in. I assume we're going to need to negotiate once we're actually in Absalom. Be like, oh, here's your dock number, and here's where you're allowed to be, and blah, 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 blah. But we'll take that as it comes.
Probably.
Our license is probably expired.
Your license has probably been revoked if your crash has been reported.
Well, we've got the data pad. We've got information on the guys whose ship we stole. If they're like, look, you pirated this ship. Like, we've got a lot to back up our journey here.
You could tell him he's dead.
I suspect no one's gonna care that
I-
much.
It's
No,
the vast,
I just-
baby.
it's
Nobody
the-
ever cares about
You
it.
came out of the vast. Anything can happen
Yep.
up there.
It's true.
Alright.
Well, might as well reroute the ship and
Certainly. So you punch in the coordinates easy enough, and you can see that it's a pretty slight course correction. It's as if exactly what she said. The orbit has moved a little bit, and you're aiming here instead of here. And about an hour later, the Gant lurches out of the drift, carrying the inertia as it did that caught you in the jelly Prometheum in the first place. But as it appears, sort of, you can see in the distance a couple of things. First and foremost, Absalon Station is in the distance. Your coordinates were accurate. You can see maybe an hour of slow boating away. The enormous, several mile wide and even more miles tall space station that is Absalon Station is looming in the distance. Home to several million inhabitants from all over the pack worlds, but primarily known to be a human-centric station. It's there ripe for not the taking, but at least the getting to. Okay. Orbiting around it, there are hundreds and hundreds of ships of all various size and stature. Some are faring back and forth between Absalon Station and their sort of parent ship, as it were. It appears that there's a small military fleet hanging above the station, and you would kind of loosely recognize it to be the Armada, which is always there. It's like the mobile defense platforms of Absalon Station. But most strikingly, perhaps, exactly where you've lurched out of the drift, in between you and Absalon Station, there is a ship of considerable size. This would be a battleship by all stretch of the imagination, bigger than the Gant by a wide margin. You can see that it has blue colorations to it, signifying it's probably a steward's ship. It also has on the outside of it a series of lights, like warning lights, almost like police sirens, for lack of a better term, or police lights that aren't blinking, but are all fixated on your ship, as if your worry of it maybe being perhaps a trap might not have been too far away from imagination, because they're all fixated on you. You can also see that all of the ship's very sizable weapons are also pointed at the Gant. Immediately, a comm comes through, flashing on the screen. The same woman, the same member of the stewards, who, although it was a pre-recorded message sent your way, appears to be in real time right now. Halt exactly what you're doing, she speaks to all of you. Power down your shields, power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded. What do you all do?
Complying.
I'm sure it's just a checkpoint. Do you have your license?
Did I leave it on the Myoposis or not?
I would have into my other pants.
I would have grabbed it. I was piloting the moat.
Absolutely.
We let them board.
Yeah. Complying 100%.
I mean,
seeing if you.
Nival, you're avoiding
I'm not avoiding
detection.
the cops.
Okay, didn't know. You just didn't want your name mentioned, and I didn't know how bad.
She says as she grips her sword a little like.
I didn't know. Yeah, okay.
It's fine. Or hi.
Yeah.
We'll
I
see
have
in
no
a bit.
issue with the stewards.
You guys are jumpy.
I want to jump onto the screen just so she can see me.
Can she hear all this?
Oh, yeah,
Do you need to hide?
No, you can see that whoever this is, and I will say, actually, you can see there is a name tag that does say Roland on the side of it. She has been watching this entire conversation that's occurring on your bridge, 100%. And just steely-eyed staring into your bridge, just saying absolutely nothing. But seeing that you're sort of agreeing, essentially, or amongst yourselves agreeing to be boarded, I will be with you presently. Pew. The camera goes off.
I didn't even get to say hi.
And that is where we're going to end the session officially, as the stewards are preparing to board your ship as you have arrived back at Absalon Station. Let's see where that goes next week.